Time is 9:03 a.m. I'd like to call to order this special meeting of the Town Council for Saturday, March 21st. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we start a roll call?
Draco.
Here.
Councilor Capello. Councilor Hans.
Here.
Councilor Gonzalez.
Here.
Councilor Nieves.
Here.
Councilor Ford.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Rada.
Here.
Councilor Tiniaki.
Here. Here. All right, we have a quorum. We'll open it up for public participation for agenda items. If you're in the room and would like to speak in public participation, please step up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, or use the raise hand function on Zoom. We'll alternate between in the room and over Zoom. Come on up.
Morning, everybody. Bill McCarthy or William McCarthy, whichever, 206 Churchill Drive. I'm catching up from the meeting that was here before, so I just wanted to touch on a couple of the items that I brought up in the first meeting. And I guess the main thing that I want to try to achieve or whatever is our debt service. I realize that we have a lot of debt, and I just hope that we're paying down as much as we possibly can so that we can bond more. The line item for bonding looked like it was $10 million proposed, which is a sort of a restrictive amount of money if we're looking at the pool project, because the pool project would need some funding to get the pools repaired. And talking about the pools, the line item for their consulting is only 60,000, which is I understand that they're only going to limit one pool. And then the only other thing I got is the canine thing. I think I saw a line item on that for 1 million to purchase the property and work with that. So I think that's excellent too. So I just wanted to come and help participate in the process, because that's what people should be doing instead of just bitching and complaining. All right, thanks.
Thank
Here,
you.
here, Bill, thank you. All right, we have one on Zoom. You want to mute her, Scott? Go right ahead, Miss Lyons.
Hi, Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. And I'm just calling in because I swore I wasn't going to look at a CIP ever again. I've been looking at them since probably before 2014, because that's the only one that I could find on the computer that had any comments by myself, and I'm sure that by me, and I'm sure that there's more before that. But I was shocked but not surprised to see that some of the same projects that they were discussing back then still have not been addressed. For example, the library expansion, the highway garage. I know that there was a line item being put in to put money away for another firehouse to be built. We've gone through 7 town managers, 3 town engineers, 4 town planners, 3 facilities directors, and 3 parks and rec superintendents since I started getting involved. And between all those people and the multiple studies that have been done, I question why we haven't completed some of these projects. It went from the CIP budget went from recommendations from the town manager to the CIP committee, who would hold 3 or 4 meetings, and then to the town council for them to review and make adjustments. Now it's just this meeting as far as I can see. So I'm going to keep a good eye out and watch and listen this morning to see what are this council's priorities, because as I've watched over the years, it seems to me that priorities change, projects get put on the back burner. I'm looking at just quickly at today's CIP because I had trouble finding it on the computer, but it seems like thousands of dollars more are being spent on neighborhood playgrounds, dog pounds, than are being spent on flood control, open space, and things like that. I just hope that there's some meaningful discussion around this table this morning and some questions asked as to why we're spending the money, where we're spending the money, and let the residents know where your priorities lie. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose.
Thank
Thank you, Ms.
you.
Lyons. Anyone else in the room or over Zoom that would like to speak in public participation? Seeing none. We'll move on and get started with the meeting. Actually, first order of business, Jonathan, is let's see if we can get a letter drafted to whoever does the scheduling for the NCAA tournament to ensure that UConn isn't scheduled for 10:30 the night before a budget meeting.
I'm on it. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Good mark. Very good, Mark. That's not on here. Oh, never mind. All right, so that's remarks from counselors. That was my. The other remarks from counselors. Seeing none, we'll move on to old business. First up, department budget reviews, open questions.
So I don't know that we had any on the town side. I know that Dr. Brummett sent you a couple of emails regarding some operational questions you had in the school bus matters, but unless you guys can think of some, I don't remember any specific open questions.
Councilor Draco?
Yeah, I think you were gonna look into the question of how we can possibly get the town, if they're funding projects that subsequently get reimbursed to the Board of Ed through grants, if there's, get a legal opinion, or if there's some other
Yeah,
creative way.
we have had those discussions and we're prepared to brief council.
Any other comments or questions on open questions? All right, we will move on to CIP. And we got their books. Start on page one.
I say, what table do we?
Yeah, which book are you looking at?
Table one from the CIP book. Page one, table one, CIP book.
Do you mean table 4?
That's where you want me to
That's
start?
like, yeah, I would think. Yeah.
All right, so page 7. All righty, folks, opening up for questions on this page. Councilman Draco.
Okay, I've got a few. The reval, last year was 25,000, and then the projection for the next 5 years was 25,000.
Yeah, that just reflects the higher cost of doing business. I don't know, Janet, or,
Yeah, and we went out to bid last time and the bid came in higher.
Okay, but isn't the reval done?
You still pay for it, and for it, we finished paying for it in the fiscal year when they finished up.
Okay,
And then you also have to, within the reval, is the legal cost for appeals. That's
Oh,
part of
okay.
the legal, that's the candle from here also.
so that projected $275,000 a few years down the road may or may not come to fruition depending on
That
legal
most likely
challenges.
will.
Okay.
That most likely will.
And then another one, the town center study implementation. Last year, first of all, the charrettes and the whatever was completed. The recommendations were presented to the town. It was a very fine study. Did a lot of town outreach to the community. But it was projected last year, $25,000 out for 5 years. All of a sudden now, this is a surprise, or it surprised me, one big whole chunk of 195,000 for this year, plus the 25,000 projected out to the future. Can somebody please explain that?
yeah, this would be to get the ball rolling on this project. So there were about $5 million worth of costs outlined in Collier's report. What we're proposing with this 195,000 essentially is $45,000 for a parking study,
$100,000 for wayfinding signage, and $25,000 for street trees and miscellaneous sort of street furnishing. And this is really to get the ball rolling. I know this is a priority for council, and the town is prepared. I've had long discussions with Paul about this, what we can do. At the same time, we've submitting for funding as available for this kind of work. So yeah, this is all hands on deck.
Immediately for this
Yeah, for
next
next
fiscal
year.
year.
Yeah.
So you said, sorry, $45,000 for a parking study and what for?
$100,000 for wayfinding signage, and $50,000 for street trees, and then miscellaneous like street furnishing. So whether that's park benches or, small retaining wall improvements or starting to get work on murals, things like that. We also have that $25,000 from this year, and that was, Paul is going to try to put that towards the actual, branding of the, coming up with designs for the signage.
So the $100,000 for signage for like a 2-block area or whatever, you're anticipating being able to get a study done for consistency of signing and whatever.
Yeah,
All this
yeah.
is gonna, so all this is anticipated to be done this year or
Oh,
next year?
next year, by the end of next year. Yeah, that's the goal.
Okay, and then just one other town hall annex
Renovations, sure.
renovations. I'm just curious I think last year was 0. No, we got 60,000.
Yeah, we had
and then went
60,
to
yeah, something like 60,000 last year.
Right, and then it went to 0. Now it's up to 650,000. Can you?
No. 650,000 would be for next year. What we're proposing
Oh, okay.
for next year is to undergo architectural work so that it could be fitted out. There's no question that, the fit out of the building would be expensive, adding elevator. So I think the idea is next year, let's spend the year designing what it could look like, and then, having discussions with council about, tenancy and things like that, so that we're in a position 12 months from now to talk about actually, putting the.
How much have we spent on that annex already?
I would look to Lauren, on that question, but that's just for the EOC build out. Not for that other 2/3 of the building that's currently vacant. Lauren, do you have any?
Are you talking like the renovation work to
Yeah.
the building? So the budget, what was available was 1.833 million, and we're under that. So I think right now we're like 150, 200,000.
Okay, and you're looking at another 1.36 for the.
In round numbers, yeah. I mean, but I think that's to be determined based on the architectural analysis and as well as discussion.
So this 60,000 is just for another study, not for any.
The
Correct.
other side of
concrete.
the building, yeah.
Okay, so no modifications or renovations. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Plord.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilor Treco asked most of my questions, as she often does. And so I'll just go to the Chapman Street Storage Building. So there's $335,000 sitting in that account now. The project has been referred to the PMBC. It's not any further in the process than many of these other projects. Can you just speak to what this $60,000
I think it's $150,000.
$150,000 allocation would do?
So that's a good question. So it'd bring the balance up to about 500,000, quite honestly, between the soft costs. So right now we are at hopefully at the next PMBC meeting, we will award the architectural, contract for architectural services to one of our 3 on-call architects. So that would, take 10 or 15% of that, if $500,000, assuming council appropriates that additional 150. So that would leave, let's say 450,000 for the hard costs. That may be, quite honestly, a little bit light for the full cost of bringing Chapman Street up. I would, based on the discussions that we've had, I think those hard costs might be more in the 550 range. So we might be like $100,000 light on Chapman Street, even with that 150,000 to get it over the finish line.
Thank you. And then could you also just speak to the both the ground maintenance garage and the highway garage?
Sure.
What those numbers would accomplish this year if they were funded?
Sure. So there's 350,000 for the grounds garage. The plan is, as you remember from our tour, there's that old dilapidated storage, wouldn't even call it a shed thing, monster or something. So the plan would be to demolish that, and then around the edge of the property, build 7 new storage, sort of more modern storage structures. And in addition to do the drainage improvements on the garage. As you remember, that parking lot is in terrible shape, potholes everywhere, tripping hazards galore. So do the drainage work next year so that you would have funds, so that in 2027, 2028, we could do an overlay of that parking lot. So that's essentially accounts for the 350. And then on the highway side, you have 200,000, and that's just for the soft cost. So, what we had obviously a soup to nuts sort of a feasibility study of that site. But now I think we need to, if we're going to really move forward, we need architectural work done and engineering done so that we're ready to really understand more specific costs. So that's what we have $200,000 there for. There is also already a balance in those accounts. So, we could, is there feedback?
It's Scott.
Okay, sorry. And so there is already a balance in those CIP accounts. But I think long-term, you can never have too much money for these I shouldn't say it that way. Long-term, these are going to be expensive projects, so I don't think it hurts to have some cushion in there for if and when the real hard costs get underway.
Thank you. Councilman Draco.
No, I guess,
Oh, sorry, Deputy Mayor Rao.
Yeah, just an explanation. We've got the Transfer to Technology Fund, which is 450,000 across the board over the next several years. And just explain what that entails.
So that's everything that Scott Charlotte basically needs to operate the town from an IT standpoint. So that's new computers, new switches, new servers, new every kind of IT piece of equipment so that they can be replaced when they hit the end of their useful life.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Draco.
and just going back to the ground maintenance garage, which I fully agree needs work, but there's like 200,000, I think, in the reserve already. So that brings it up to like 500,000. And they're planning on doing what this year? You said demolish?
This is for the grounds garage?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be demolish that storage structure in the middle.
Okay,
And
then
then
build-
rebuild 7 storage bins along the edge. And then do the drainage improvements for the parking lot.
and I mean, it just, that's a lot that can be accomplished for 500,000. I guess I'm just comparing it to some of the other projects. I don't know whether it's cheaper construction that goes there or that.
I don't know, Joe, can you speak to that at all, or?
Because, it looked like the Chapman Street is like 500,000 and you're saying it's really.
Well, we're
enough,
not really
and yet
doing,
they're-
we're not doing real like inhabitable buildings
Okay,
on the grounds. That's a big difference. There's
Yeah, that's what
there's
I'm
no
asking.
heat, electricity, there's no utility.
Oh, okay,
things like
oh,
that.
okay. Okay, so it's like you call those Butler buildings or something?
Different projects, so depending on what we decide to do with the ground garage for additional storage and then the drainage, Chris got to speak to the drainage aspect of it, what's entailed. So you can't compare the structure of Chapman Street or the private Chapman Street to.
No, I'm just, okay, I just wanted the explanation. And the drainage, that would be, have to keep connecting to the MDC to existing or something, I mean.
No, this would be stormwater drainage.
Oh, stormwater
Yeah,
drainage.
so that wouldn't need to go through MDC. It's entirely a town.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor. On historic properties, obviously, this is an item that we've kind of tooled around with over the past couple of years. Can you just speak to what facilities has done with this money over the past couple of cycles? How helpful do they find this pot of money in terms of responding to the needs, the very significant needs we know of some of those historic structures?
Joe, can you address that one? Or I don't know if Clay is on the line or, yeah, but Joe, why don't you give a.
Thanks, Joe.
So we work with the Historical Society, trying to identify different projects to keep the buildings in good shape for them, in conjunction with lease and whose, responsibilities within the lease. But for the Kellogg Eddy House, we did a lot of drainage work there in the basement because it was flooding often. So inside and out drainage. We upgraded the electrical in Kellogg Eddy and Kelsey House. We added generator hookups. So if they did lose power, we can bring in a portable generator to keep them running. The most recent projects were the sidewalks and some site work, leveling those out, resetting the brownstone historical sidewalks that were at both properties. So yeah, we try to keep a healthy fund there. There's also some projects that are being planned for that property. We have to work with the Historical Society to determine which ones are the highest priority, but we did the roof a few years ago. But some of the siding needs some work. The dental work, all the molding and trims on the outside are at their life expectancy or further. So items like that, we're looking forward to doing. The chimney has a little bit of an issue at Kellogg Eddy House, so we've been, working on that and getting plans to do some of that work. I have a couple proposals for most of this work at the Kellogg Eddy House. It's a big number, so we're gonna do a little bit.
When you say big number, I mean, we're talking.
$700,000.
Yeah. So we have what, like 240, I think, I want to, off the top of my head, something like that in the balance, in the reserve, in the total CIP account. So
Right now,
we're not,
the balance is
182.
182,000.
excuse me, yeah. So we're not even close to in the ballpark of addressing all of those historic properties.
We try to prioritize and then, take care of the most important things first.
Understood. And you work very well and very closely with the Historic
Yeah,
Society.
Jim Late was the president, and now
Dave
Dave Nagel is. So yes, we've had a couple meetings. We're working with them.
Now, I know that they, and I know this is top of your mind, but they've also for a long time had concerns that the buildings aren't ADA accessible. And it was very expensive to bring them up to compliance. But are there, as a part of this long-term planning that you've been considering together with them, are there some smaller projects that could push you in the direction, whether it's?
So that's
ramp
really
or
challenging.
whatever? Okay.
Just because of the historical nature of the property, and we have to work very closely with SHPO. There's things we can do. We've had many conversations with Carol, our ADA compliant officer, with Jonathan, with I was gonna say Counselor Nagel, but he's not a counselor. So yeah, we would, it's hard because if you do one, you can't just pick and choose because one will lead to another. So it's a very complex and tough topic to kind of wrap our hands around. So we are having those conversations, but it's a fine line of what you can do and to where you can stop and where do you keep going
Yeah.
to.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you.
Councilman Draco?
I just, piggybacking on, what Matt said, so I would imagine every historical building in the state has the same issues, when built in the 1700s, 1800s. There's no state, not necessarily aid, because the state is not flush really, but agency that, how have other homes or approached this? Or do you have like a consultancy?
So I
liaison?
know there is one or two organizations that purchase in a cooperative historical properties throughout the state, and then they maintain them and manage them. It's you don't relinquish ownership, but you relinquish almost ownership of them. I think they're still deeded to the town, but I don't know that Newington is that something that we would want to do. I think we like owning our historical properties. What other communities have done is they build almost a separate structure for the ADA bathrooms and all that, and they breezeway or try to attach it to the building so it doesn't look too awkward, because to do the things inside in the actual
Right.
building is too much.
Right.
So I know East Hartford had did that. They put a ramp in a separate little annex building attached, so you have your ADA bathrooms and you met those requirements.
Okay, so there are sources that we can look at for models or examples. Okay, thank you.
Your company is that outfit for ADA. I just know like Wheelpad, I think it's in Vermont, but they'll travel and they attach a structure to the side and you connect all your utilities and stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Any questions on this page? All right, we can move on. The next page 9, same table.
Oh, yeah.
Councilor Draco.
Okay, the animal shelter, that is money put aside for, that's not the renovations or whatever, this is potentially for purchase of the
I think all of
property.
the above. That's what I had in mind, that the purchase plus substantial, like just year one kind of upgrades, whether that was HVAC, whether that was roofing, just the high priority improvements that would be needed there. That's sort of what was envisioned for that 1 million.
Do we, it must, I mean, if, I'm assuming it's public knowledge or it's whatever, what's the assessed value of the property?
Based on our reval, the appraised value, not the assessed value, but the appraised value came back, I think around $390,000.
390,000?
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council. You're good? Yeah, thank you. Any other questions on this page? Page 11, table 4.
Shoot. I didn't want-
Councilor Draco.
The matching grant fund, I'm just curious why it's down 50,000, because I think last year it was 250 across the board.
Yeah, was it just, we thought that we had enough, yeah, good balance, I think, yeah.
Okay. And then sidewalk pavers, curves, whatever, I think last year it was $475,000 we had projected, and now the actual for this, now it's 100,000. Why is it?
No, well, last year it looks like we appropriated 190. Unless I'm looking at something different.
Right, but the projected out was.
Oh, yeah, I don't have that handy. I mean, I think it's on the ongoing, just cost of, I mean, we have between all of those pavers that we have to repair and replace at Market Square, the work we were doing at Robbins, it's just the ongoing.
Right, but it's a decrease. It's a significant decrease.
Well, for the
Chris,
next
you
couple of
want-
years, check the balance on that.
Yeah.
Oh.
They have a significant balance.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
let's do the balance, okay.
Do you have anything to add, Chris, on that?
Just to clarify, we have, and I'm gonna call it excess in the account because last year we didn't do as much work as we would have liked to, for various reasons. This year we expect to make up for that a little bit, and then so next year's request will probably go. So we got money right there for this year's work. We didn't have to ask for as much this year. Help with the ongoing budget this year we got. So we reduced the request a little bit.
I think this year in particular, Gail, I went about 3 iterations between me and Janet and Chris, just going back and looking at fund balance of work plans and trying to get the requests for engineering as sort of tight as possible, recognizing that, a department of 3 people only has so much bandwidth to get, projects done. So
I thank you, Chris, for looking at your balances and being cognizant of this year's budget crisis. And then just one more thing, and I guess it's you too. For drainage improvement, last year you were given nothing. And then the projection out was, instead of 100,000, it was like 300,000 a year, but now you're given, the proposed is 50,000. Is that going to be sufficient?
I would love to have more. However, reality says no.
I mean, so we have 2 sort of big projects like kind of lingering, hanging over us that we'd like to do. One on Cedarwood, one on Evergreen, that collectively add up to $800,000. And then, and so, this would get 50,000 would just allow us to start, building up the kitty after that.
But it's not going to allow you to complete the project.
In drainage maintenance, once again, you have over $1 million. There's a couple ARPA projects that still need to be completed.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we figured that's what's gonna be happening in the next.
Okay, so you're taking it out of the project excess. Okay, thank you.
Counselor Siniakis.
Can you just update us on the timeline for the new Britain Ave streetscape?
Yeah, we're ready to go out to bid, I believe, for the 2027 construction cycle. Is that a fair?
That is a fair assessment. We are at the point where we have submitted our draft plans, what we call a 90% submittal to, I believe this one is DECD. They will review that and get back to us with any suggested comments. At that point, we then go and put final plans together for their final approval. Plans expect package. They authorize us to proceed with that, and then we go forward with construction. We met with one of the adjacent property owners just yesterday. He's the one who's trying to buy the old cleaner. That's an environmental cleanup site, so he's in the process of trying to acquire state grant for that. How quickly is cost associated with cleaners around the campus. So he's moving forward on the private side, we're moving forward on the public side. A little bit of luck with that. But we're done.
We're confident that the 100K from last budget is enough to just get the whole project done.
For New Britain Avenue?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're good to go. We were able to, so if you remember, maybe 2 council meetings ago, we were able to actually reappropriate some of the excess fund for the New Britain Avenue, because we had it basically budgeted. We have grant funding and we also had a big $600,000+ balance. We were able to reappropriate some of that CIP balance into some fire department projects. So, yeah, we should be, I mean, don't hold me to it, but I think we're in a good position. I mean, do hold me to it.
We're gonna.
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Rada.
Yeah, one of my questions, thank you, AJ, was answered. Crack sealing roads, for this past budget, we allocated or appropriated 75,000, and then I see we're increasing to 100,000. I know how important this is to do and our road systems, but can you talk about how this is going to be moving forward?
And Robbie, why don't you come up to the hot seat?
Are you asking, questioning the increase or?
Yeah, the increase and just, you know, explain the trajectory over the next.
Okay, so the increase was because we had money left over in LoSiP or road aid from the previous year. So we were able to take that money and allocate it to the crack sealing program. So basically, the way our crack sealing program, it runs in conjunction with the paving program. Once a road hits about that 4 or 5 year lifespan after it's been resurfaced, we like to get onto that road and do a crack seal. So you crack seal after 4 or 5 years, and then you try to get back to that road every 5 years. So you crack seal that road about 3 times in 15 years. And then from that 15 year to that 20 year, at almost the end of the term, I guess, the time of the pavement being viable, we'll do some pothole patching. So the crack sealing is what gets us from the initial mill and pave to the next mill and pave. So it's every 5 years you try and get on that. So what we do is we take the roads that we resurfaced that year, like the roads that we did last year, we're gonna get on in 5 years. It's a 5 year, it's basically a 5 year program to get on. So, and typically the $100,000 is sufficient. Crack sealing is a very inexpensive process in the road preservation program, but it's probably one of the most important in keeping water and out from the base of the road. So,
Having had a recently renovated road,
yes,
it's appreciated.
Yes.
And I'm sure that in town feels the same way, and driving in other communities.
Yeah.
We're far ahead,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
far above what some of the options are.
yeah, unfortunately, in previous years, this council has been great, previous council's been great, but that was part of the program that was kind of lacking. That's why some of our roads are deteriorating faster than we would like.
Mhm.
So that's why you see some of the roads like Alumni Road, Veterans Road,
Those roads are failing faster than we would like, just because we were unable to get the funding in the early years of that road to get the crack sealing done.
Thanks for the explanation.
No problem.
Councilor Pedrango, you probably don't want to go too far.
I was done.
Well, first of all, I know I've read in the paper how this winter, I guess, has been very tough on
Yes, the
roads.
frost,
And
yeah,
so you're probably gonna use every penny of that,
yeah.
or every nickel, since we don't do pennies anymore. I'm curious about the consulting design form. It's design fund. It's a new project and I guess, is it yours or is it Chris's?
Chris's,
Okay,
and
He asked for 150,000 and it was cut to 50. I'm just curious as to what it's gonna be used for, and I mean, I'm
Well,
sure you're not happy.
so
with
this
it,
is,
but-
I mean, Chris can talk about the details of this, but I mean, I think that the issue we have broadly with the engineering department, and this isn't a criticism of Chris, but as I said before, they don't have the bandwidth to get some of the projects off the ground. So having a consulting in this fund for basically outside engineers to come in and get projects going. This would help, for example, we have a LOTSIP grant for the complete streets for Maple Hill and Alumni Road. So that's an example of really to get that. I think that's been languishing for a couple of years, even before your time, right, Chris?
Yes.
So
No,
like, it's
I
like
agree
getting
with
that.
it.
up, but
I'm just curious as to the request is 150, was cut to 50. Is
That
gonna
that
be-
was me. That was trying to sharpen the pencil.
Will would be enough to get something started, or is it gonna be put into a reserve?
I would imagine 50 is enough to start, let's call it the seed, the account. As an example, when I solicited a proposal for engineering work on this same LOTSIP project, I want to say their cost to me would have been more like 90 to 100,000. So I do expect that to be typical of a LOTSIP grant of roughly 2 miles. It's a 10,000 linear foot project with sidewalks and road resurfacing and what we call complete streets, like we did with Robbins, with the bike trails and all that sort of thing. So the design costs are not insignificant, and that's where we're looking to create a fund for this. In the past, what was done was the design costs of a project were budgeted for, designed, then the construction costs were sought or the grant was sought. And that works to some extent, but that puts years on a project, and we have a lot of work to do, and I have years left.
Oh, you're young.
Oh, I wish.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Councilor Nieves.
Yes, my question was along the lines of Deputy Mayor Rada's question in terms of the crack sealing roads and the pavement markings on roads. I know we had a tough winter session from middle of January forward, and noticed a lot of plowing and just cleaning of the roads, which was, you guys were great. But I've also noticed in my commute and travels through town, there are a lot of the curbs along the roadsides. Is that something that will be incorporated in the repairs, and given the number of curves that can kind
Oh, the
of,
curb damage?
yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is a byproduct of snow plowing, especially when we get the bigger storms. So that'll actually be part of our spring maintenance. Crews are actually going around right now, and they're picking up the curbs and they're picking up any turf damage that may have come along with that. And then as part of our spring maintenance, once we're done sweeping, we have money in another account, in our operating budget to do the repairs to the curbs.
Okay,
Yeah, so those will be done sometime in the spring.
okay, thanks.
Councilor Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor. On the continued discussion, this is for you, Chris, on the sidewalks. I know first year that I was on the council, we made a very large investment in sidewalk repair. I know, as has been said, there is limited bandwidth in your department. We all recognize that. Could you just speak to a little bit like what the long-term planning looks like in your office to responding to some of those needs? Is it mainly, you just given the bandwidth, go to the highest need areas first? Or is there, like I know happens with road resurfacing, this portion of town will happen this year and then et cetera. What does that look like in your office?
So what we've been doing is to start a priority list based on a combination of citizen complaints, our own observations, our own feedback from, say, Parks and Highways when they identify an area that they notice is in need of help. Some of them are historic problem sites, like this big stretch of Main Street.
that came to my attention a few years back as a result of a trip and fall lawsuit. We weren't able to get to that last year. Last year was the first time I got up to having 3 people in my office. So now we think we're at a point where we can have at least a single year construction bid put out. And then the plan is to get into what we used to be on was a 3-year contract. So we'd have a contractor for 3 years doing work incrementally. We have a lot of sidewalks, roughly 200 or so miles. And a lot of them need help and we want to try and get there. So I won't say starting from scratch, but we're almost starting from scratch as far as repair to the existing problem areas. And then after we get to the point where we're satisfied that we're making good progress on that, we can start looking at requests for new sidewalks. There was an old request I'm aware of, for instance, to complete Main Street down to Lewis Street. We had a grant application in that didn't get funded, various reasons. So that's an area of interest, apparently from the community. We can pursue that when we get there. That'll be a couple of years down the road.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Councilor Pacheco?
Yes, the flood control maintenance reserve, it wasn't funded last year. It's not proposed to be funded this year. With the type of storms we've been getting, and maybe it's an anomaly, but I don't think so. And I know other towns have been struggling with the flooding from the excessive and heavy rain, you know, and there's not really much, I don't think, in the balance. There's 120,000. Is that going to be enough?
So that's
Not
the
get funded
account
again?
we use to do lawn mowing in the areas where we can't use equipment we already own. So there's parts of that Piper Brook flood control area that require specialized equipment that we have to rent. And so this account is used when Rob rents that equipment and details personnel to go work on that. We have to pay for that machine. So that's what that account is used for. And then the dredging is for the actual in-water work. We have to dredge the settling basins on a periodic basis. In fact, we're due.
So you can work with
Yes.
budget. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions from council on this page? Seeing none. You guys are very, thanks, guys, appreciate it.
Before we move on, I apologize. I should have highlighted this. There is a funeral of a former firefighter coming up. I told Chief Traumer that make sure that he could get out in time for that. Does anybody have any additional questions related to the fire department's CIP so we can exclude them?
Skip ahead to fire
Yeah.
department.
Well, we've already sort of gone past it. I just want to make sure that
Oh,
they have the all clear to go.
Any additional questions while we got the chief here about the fire department's CIP requests? Back to Jason. Not for me.
There's nothing down there.
It's just the PPE
Yeah.
replacement. There's a state mandate for 200 pieces of PPE to be replaced to get rid of the PFAs on non-PFA equipment. So that's really if you have any questions about that.
Thank you.
We're sorry for your loss.
Back to page 13. Counselor Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor. So a couple things. So first, the land acquisition fund. I know Councilor Pacheco, I'm sure, was potentially planning to ask about this as well. But can you just speak to one, what the current balance of the fund account is? I know we've asked before, but I'll ask again. And then that $20,000 number, for how long has it been a $20,000 annual allocation Was it ever more? Was it ever less?
It was nothing.
It was
This is
nothing.
when Gail brought it up, I don't know how many years ago.
Yeah, so it's somewhat recent. It's not more than 10 years.
Not more than 10 years.
Yeah.
And it started at 20. And it stayed at
No,
20.
no, it was 0.
No, I mean, when
Oh,
we
yeah, yeah,
first
yeah,
went,
yeah.
It was 20. And that's the first balance.
Even that, I want to say it's somewhere around 200,000 at this point.
Because unfortunately, there's no open
This is
space to
just- this-
purchase.
Yeah, this is just to transfer over to the other funds, so it doesn't show up in CIP after. I will look up the value, the exact number. I want to believe it's approximately.
And then the other question I have is about the pool improvements item. So it's been said that this is, obviously, this isn't a hard cost. This is
soft cost for architectural work for basically to bring something to council and eventually for a potential future referendum.
And for one pool, correct?
This would essentially fund one pool, yeah.
And so I guess the question I have, obviously, the committee's charged to look at both
Yeah.
pools, and costs are limited, we understand. But is the cost to provide that kind of study for both pools essentially 120?
Yeah, and frankly, Matt, it might be even more than that. So we got this number from out of a proposal from Weston and Sampson from about a month ago. I plucked it out and then it was later, oh wait, that's only the cost of doing architectural services for one pool. Then in addition, but that was just one respondent. So there might be other people that would come in lower than that. In addition, the pool committee would also like to look into splash pads as well. So if you want to do the full soup to nuts architectural work here, it may be more than 120, it may be more than 140 range or something like that. But I mean, certainly it would seem to me that 60,000 for one pool is on the high side, but it's based on an actual proposal from.
Thank you. And can you speak to, I guess, there's only about 8,000, I think, left in that account now. What the money that was allocated for the previous review of the two pools, what all of that was used for?
Yeah, so we had, I believe that's where we charged the Weston and Sampson evaluation. So we had some money from the state as well this year, and that we used to pay for Weston and Sampson to come in and do kind of a feasibility study for us. And they outlined different ways of repairing the pools in their current location. There's sort of 3 industry standard ways of repairing pools. Concrete liner, there's a couple of different options. And so that's what that was for.
Okay, and this may not, I'm sorry to
Yeah.
keep going on this.
No.
Thank you. This may not be a question necessarily for staff, but maybe for the committee, and perhaps staff can answer. Within that feasibility study, has the committee come to a determination about, the kind of projects included in that study that are of interest to them to get the architectural?
Yeah, so I think, AJ, do you want to speak to this rather than me, or?
Yeah, we've discussed, we've gone over the options that were proposed by Weston Sampson as far as like what type of replacement is like available to us. I think that the committee has come to a general agreement on, we're looking for longevity more than anything else. So we have that. Right now, we have a meeting Monday where we're gonna discuss the proposed RFP to go out. And then, after that, kind of just depends on where the budget falls. Most likely though, I think it's the mindset of the committee that we're looking to have a comprehensive plan for both pools. So whether that means like this is gonna be a long-term project for years to come, but we wanna get put in a position where everything is done in one go, and then we'll see like how the community reacts to it. But we do have a somewhat conducive plan as to like what type of pool structure that we're looking to do for each site.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you.
Councilor Siniakis?
Just back to the land acquisition, do we take a reactive stance when it comes to looking at available property for the town, or are we like proactive where we're looking to see available properties that open up? Like, I just want to see like how the fund is kind of
I don't know that
handled.
there's like formal policy on that. I mean, we are, you know, as we become aware of properties on the market, and point to the animal shelter, and now there's that radio radio facility on Willard that, you know, we looked at as well. You know, we keep our eyes open, but, you know, the radio tower, for example, that radio property didn't meet our needs, so we walked away. Yeah, so I don't know that we have it's just on a case by case basis.
whatever
Yeah,
pops up,
yeah,
yeah.
we'd certainly, if something was, we felt as staff that it had a benefit to the town, we'd take it to you guys, and vice versa. If you guys see something come online and say, hey, would this be valuable for X, Y, or Z? You know, please make us aware, and we'll.
It's in our POCD to do that, I believe,
Yeah.
too, that we continue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And that as
opportunities,
well.
so yeah.
Like,
To answer, question report, the balance is 257,000.
Thank you, Jan.
thank you, Jim.
Council Gonzalez.
Just a question on the synthetic turf replacement reserve. Do you know how much is in that fund currently? It's,
It says $204,000 basically.
and when was the last time that was redone?
Last year with ARPA funds.
And that's about a 10-year lifespan.
It would be a 10-year, we dragged it out a little longer.
Thank you.
I had one question along the same lines as that. The cost to replace it was $1 million last year.
It was. approximately-
750,000.
There you go. So,
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Council Floyd?
Thank you, Mayor. Janet, could you just speak to, Janet or Jonathan, I'm sorry, could you just speak to the Transit Village Design District architect guidelines for Newington Junction? That's obviously not something that's in our current CIP, but we have an existing account for what that money is sitting there for.
This is a Paul question. Paul, are you on the call?
He is not. I don't see him.
We can get back to you on that one, Matt. I don't have a pat answer for that. I feel like Paul and I have had general discussions.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from council on page 13? All right, seeing none, move on to page 15, education.
And so on education, so as you guys probably heard, there's a couple of adjustments to those Chafee, the paving, the parking lot paving, according to Dr. Brummett, is now more in the $125,000 range. And the Elizabeth Green partial roof replacement, came back as $86,430, I believe. So we have quite a bit of savings right there.
How are we so far off on those estimates? Is I guess one of my main questions.
Yeah, right.
Because we went from 300,000 to 125,000 and 140,000 to 86,000. Why are we so far off?
I suppose the town could do a better job of doing its due diligence on the CIP request numbers from the Board of Ed. Beyond that,
Yeah, they're their estimates.
They're there, that's serious.
That answers
Yeah,
the question.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Draco.
Just a question, I'm assuming there's nothing left from the Garfield Street bus yard paving. Is it completely 300,000?
It's all gone.
That's all,
In
okay.
fact, I'm gonna be asking for a transfer at the 24th meeting to move over the money from Chapman Street to cover some of the overage that they.
in that chat, camp happen.
Camp,
Yeah.
sorry.
Good thing the fire department wasn't here.
No, not that one.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there a present balance? What's the present balance in their CIP reserve? Or did they use that pretty consistently year to year? Yeah, no, the CIP appropriation for public school CIP reserve. 125.
page to.
Is that like the,
There's balances all in appendix A, you have them, that's at the end, where I sent you stage one last night. That hasn't changed much for any of their stuff.
I get to a point where I memorize where all of this stuff is.
The public school CIP has a $1.2 million balance as of yesterday.
Thank you. Counselor Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor. Two quick questions. So in this list of balances, there's general property school improvements, 88624, and school drive parking lots, and I think sidewalks, and that's 88627. What are those set asides for? Do we have any information from them about what they intend to use that money for?
say those again?
Sure. So it's general prop school improvements is what it's listed at. That's at a balance of $53,630. And then school drive parking lots and sidewalks, that's at a balance of $99,381.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that.
That's
Appendix A, page 25.
25.
Page 25. It's about midway down.
Yeah, we'll look, I need to look into that, yeah.
Thank you.
That was general.
General property school improvements. That's 88624. And then school drive parking lots and sidewalks, 88627. Thank you, Jim.
I will tell you, they usually put their purchase orders in at the very end of the year, because they do the planning for when the schools are.
Okay.
So I'll ask them when they come.
And it would also be helpful to know from that account what recent purchase orders have happened. Thank you.
Any other questions from council on page 15? I have questions about the bus program, but for the years out, but I don't, we got that answers in that, I think. All right. Completes table 4, I think, what else we got on CIP to look at? Working reserve. Where's that?
I do have a.
Council Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a question, I guess, about the equipment reserve. You described it, I'm not an expert on this, and I wrap my head around it every year, I think in a different way. But can you just describe to us how that number comes to fruition, that specific number year to year?
I'll defer to Janet for a
Thank you.
better, I could mangle it, but she.
So what we end up putting in the equipment reserve every year is a depreciation for the equipment that we have to replace. I mentioned to Jonathan, if you notice in this book, in the CIP book, can you hear me? In the CIP book, you're gonna notice the total in here is different than in the budget book that you currently have for equipment reserve and for CIP. That's due to the fact that we met with the head mechanic after the original budget came out to go through this equipment reserve, to go through all the equipment that had to be replaced and get updated values and get updated. He shifts around vehicles as he sees that maybe this one does need to be replaced, this one does need to be replaced more, any of the equipment like that. We had that after you got your budget books. So before you got your CIP books though. So this is actually, the equipment reserve went up
98,000, I just had it here, $98,767.
So that is an adjustment. We're gonna need to do the budget. That was a combination of equipment that got shifted around. The fact that we had been generally putting in a 3% inflation increase every year for replacement as equipment, and we're not even
More than
coming
that,
close to
yeah.
that. So we were seeing the equipment reserve has to be updated to keep schedule of replacing these different vehicles and equipment. But it's the depreciation. So if we buy a truck this year for this value, every year we will take the depreciation from that equipment along with inflation and put it in here to replace it when its useful life is done.
Thank you. Any other questions on equipment reserve? All right. I'll conclude that book. We are moving along. Next is gonna be human services. And that's in the community services section of the big budget book. Oh, it's 610. All right, we will open it up for questions from council. Councilor Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question about the seasonal to consultants and special contractor reallocation that happened there. So there's a $7,000 reallocation to consultant special contractor. The number that we have allocated in addition this year is 12,750. Is that just keeping pace with like minimum wage or something like that? Is that why there's a mismatch?
They're saying there's a mismatch between what and what?
Sure, I'm sorry. So 8104 seasonal, there's a reduction of 7,000. It said in the commentary that that is to be reallocated in 8217 consultant special contractor, and it is.
Yeah,
But there's $12,750 in addition. in
I-
consultant special contract.
is that?
That's the revised budget number. So when you're looking at it, the original budget was 10,500.
Oh, okay.
So actually 10,500 got moved from budget to budget, from that line to that line.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's my mistake, rookie mistake. Jeez. I
No,
should be
no,
making
no, no,
mistakes
that's a
like that.
good question.
Thank you. So at 10,500 is the difference?
10,500 what got moved from the original appropriation in the budget for this year to next year's budget.
Yeah, okay, so then I guess the same question between the 7 and the 10,500, is it just the reason it's 10,500, is that just to keep pace with like minimum wage for that seasonal?
It was 10,500 in seasonal, and that got moved to the 10,000 to 8217.
Which was
I see, I understand.
So it
6483.
is a one for one.
It's a one for one.
We do have one. for one.
Okay. Thank you. I'll ask one more question, which is about the special needs item. This is that item that is new over the past couple of years to fund like emergency relocation, et cetera. I know that we've had presentations from you, Carol, at council about the use of that fund and it maybe not being all that commensurate with need, and we understand that. Could you just speak to like this past year, how that fund assisted you, or, you know, what those resources were used for? et cetera?
You want to come up to the, that's.
So we've used that for various homeless situations that have come up, and I actually just emptied that account based on a police referral of a DV victim that presented this past weekend. So that account has been helpful and empty.
Thank you, Carol. Councilor Draco.
Yeah, under
Oh, too far.
8204 conferences, meetings and trainings, I'm just curious, it says in the notes that it was increased for additional training needs. But it looks like it was decreased from the, I'm a little confused.
It was increased from the original budget and decreased from the revised budget. And is that reflecting of the youth counselor going to that training?
Training, yeah. So we had our part-time counselor position was empty. Now that he's on board, there was an increased expectation of annual challenge course certification training for both program coordinator and the part-time social worker.
So last year, it was budgeted 5,353. This year, you requested 3,205.
Right, that was, so last year, or the current year, I should say, if memory serves, that was when Brent went to that training somewhere.
Both Brett
Yeah.
and Michael Thompson this current year went initial training. Brett's training was manager training for the challenge course, and Michael Thompson, our new part-time social worker or part-time youth worker, went to initial, phase 1 challenge course facilitation training.
So they
So
completed
that's
that.
not a every year type of thing, but then there will be ongoing recertification training every year.
So it looks like it was increased for the current year, and because of that, so for next year, they don't need that training again, so I see what's happening.
Yeah, the wording was
Yeah,
confusing under the commentary.
thank you. Counselor Dawes.
So I'm gonna go back to Counselor Plord's original question between 8104 and 8217. When I'm looking at the 10.5 and the 6483, those two lines in the original budget total 16,983. So I'm still, I guess I'm still not coming out dollar for dollar on where we landed.
So 8104 went to
8217.
8217. Let's see.
Yeah, 10.5 on top of 6483 would be 1690.
983.
Yeah.
We could do, I mean, why
So
don't,
the additional
yeah.
1250 was an increase in other materials, which is within that line item as well.
what we could do, why don't the three of us, Carol, me and Janet, why don't we just we'll do a spreadsheet and show how this all and send it to you.
Sure.
That's probably the
Thank you.
best way.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carol.
Carol,
Thank
was the language service contract something new this year?
No, we had that previous.
Any other questions from council on this page? Counselor Nevis.
Yes, I had a question on special needs again. Did I hear you correctly? And you said that you assisted that account was depleted in assisting a DV client, was it?
The last person we assisted was a homeless DV victim.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's how many in your estimation or from your knowledge of this, excuse me, this specific fund amount, $5,000 that we're talking about, how much assistance are you able to provide or lend when you do get calls?
Yeah,
Is that
so-
rapidly depleted?
I mean, if we do a week, typically we get presented with a homeless person and we're trying to bridge them to the 211 system, the CAN system, where they would get connected with shelter and services. So if we did a week, that's typically $450. So with that as an example, it's gonna cover a little over 10 people.
Okay.
Sometimes it's, a week and a half to get them to the bridge. We're doing whatever we can to get them to a more stable situation.
Okay, thanks.
I think I have kind of the answer to your 8217 question. It looks like annual inspection required for the Challenger course and maintenance that was originally being covered by youth service grant.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
And that was 1,750.
And 50, yeah.
And that grant expired.
They won't cover it as, it got taken over from Board of Ed to Department of Children and Families, and Department of Children and Families won't cover that
I see.
service.
Okay,
Interesting.
thank you.
Thank you for everything you do. You do a lot with little and it has so much impact on everybody. So thank you for all
Those are, that's how.
I agree. Thank you,
that.
Carol.
Thanks. All right. Next is 644 Senior and Disabled Center. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, well, that's sort of next in the book. Should we do that, or do we want to jump to library and then back?
What's that?
This is 640.
The way that.
Yeah, the order in the agenda.
Yeah, let's follow the agenda. Yeah.
Follow the
Sorry,
agenda? Sorry. James. So next up is library. Yeah, we'll come back to senior, and we'll come back to senior center. So 711. Library. All right, any questions from council? The code 6711, library operations, library administration. Council Bedrejko.
Okay. That tone of your voice, you're getting sick of me, I know.
No, no. Not at all.
I'm just curious, on the front page, we're talking about overtime hours. It's, yeah, maybe I'm reading this wrong, but it says circulate, last year authorized, or this year, whatever, 25, 26, 2.9 hours, and then under collection, 6.8, and then now it's jumping up to 25.4.
What, I'm sorry, what line item are we
It's that
talking?
front
It's on that
page,
front page where.
the
we're
personnel
talking about
The personnel breakdown page.
the very first page.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask the same question.
Oh, just.
And everybody knows Jen Hebert, who's our new
Yes.
assistant
So
director.
Lisa
Yeah.
Maston, library director. This is my new assistant library director, Jennifer
Congratulations.
Hebert.
Welcome aboard.
Deserved. Very well.
Jennifer, yeah, she started when she was a page, library
Oh,
page.
Wow.
Yes. so
Amazing.
She stayed, yeah,
Very
she
good.
stayed.
Cool.
So I'm sorry, Gail.
Okay, yeah, it says under this personnel summary, last year you had 2.9 overtime hours for circulation and 6.8 overtime hours for collection, and then now you're requesting under circulation 25.4 overtime hours, and then under collection 31.9.
So the Sunday, that's for Sunday hours. So for the union contract, we have to offer it to full-time people first.
Didn't we have some day hours last year? No.
We did, but that people they can choose whether they want to work or not. So a lot more people requested to work Sunday hours in the coming budget. So that's why it jumped so dramatically.
Okay. Thank you.
Now back to 711. That specific page. Any additional questions there, Councilor Bedrejko? No, just because your hands, you're the only one raised right now. so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
sorry.
Questions from council on, so it's 711 library administration, library operations. Councilor Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not really sure how to ask this question, but I had the same question, Council Bedrejko did. I guess, could you just speak to like moving forward, long-term? I mean, do you expect that the overtime will continue to escalate at this rate?
It's really hard to tell because every year we ask them when we're doing the budget, who wants to work on Sundays. Some years people want to work Sunday, and work some Sunday hours, and some years they don't. More people this year than ever have requested to work Sunday overtime hours.
Okay.
And we just don't know, you can't say no, you don't have control over that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So their normal work hours, what, 37 and a half
they're
hours a week?
35, and then
35
if
hours.
they choose to work a Sunday, it's like it's a 3 or 3.5 hour shift.
But,
And there's 25 Sundays in it. So someone could technically work 25 Sundays.
so it's contractual, because normally, in I guess non-contract, you would take those days, those hours off during the week so that you.
But if you read the
eventually-
contract, it's in addition to their normal work hours.
Okay, thank you. If they don't pick those up as overtime hours, do they go to like part-time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
We have
that's a big
substitutes and
difference.
part-time staff that will cover those hours. Yes.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Any additional questions from council on this page? Seeing none. Code 712, library operations, library children's service. Questions there? And my own questions were about the overtime, so that's just across the board, so I appreciate your insight there. Any questions on 712? All right, seeing none. 713, reference to community services, Council Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor. The public circulation materials, so these are for downloadables. Now, you purchase these downloadables every year, correct?
We lease them.
You lease them. So this year is a year you wanted to purchase them outright.
No, we're asking for the increase you're talking about
Yeah.
for the downloadables. We're asking just for an increase in that budget. It's, they're becoming more popular. So it's like Hoopla, if you use Hoopla or Libby. With Libby, we buy with our consortium, the other 33 libraries, we all pull our money together and we share. Hoopla is anything you see is available, but you get charged per download. That's why there's a limit that you can use each month. So, but the cost of that, it keeps increasing and the usage is increasing as well. So we just were asking for a $10,000 increase in that specific line item.
And to that point, I mean, based on the discussions with, between Lisa and myself, these downloadable materials, these digital materials can cost the town up to $100 per. So like
Wow.
$10,000 sounds like a lot of money, but given the intensity of usage, it's really not that big an expense.
And then especially with Libby, it's, you are limited as to the amount of time that you can use a specific title or how many downloads. Then you have to repurchase it.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Councilor Haas.
Between Hoopla and Libby, are they both equally used or utilized, or is there one that's more popular than the other?
I think they're both equally used. Libby has a really nice selection of like audiobooks and also more probably the ebooks, but people like Hoopla better because it's immediate. And but the challenge we have is they want us to increase the numbers they can do, download per month, but we just can't afford it.
What's the current download limit?
6 per month. And
Per user.
per user. And during COVID, we bumped it up to 10 or 12 per month. We just can't sustain that.
With $100 each time?
No, not with that. Hoopla's more like, with Libby, it's definitely that price. But with Hoopla, it's like maybe $5 a download, but that adds up really fast. So we're averaging probably $3,000 a month just in Hoopla for cost. And that's just with 6 downloads per person or per user. And you do have to, for that, you do have to be a Newington resident to use Hoopla.
Thank you.
Any other questions on code 713? Okay, we're going to 714, library building. Questions here from council? All right, seeing none. We want 715, collection management. Questions from council here? All right.
Just
Deputy Mayor?
one question, it's kind of a general question that I've seen in, a couple of these pages. Can you just explain what printing and binding is, what that entails for the library?
You have it could be several things. Some of it could be like a rebinding of a book. It could also, we use printing and binding for materials too. We like, when you get like a paperback in, we'll tape it a lot of times to have a longer shelf life. It also it's supplies. A lot of the times we use it towards the supplies to be able to do even things like envelopes to mail out notices. That's under printing and binding, paper that we need to print flyers, things like that. But it also includes, if you like buying newspapers or you are rebinding books, that comes out of that budget as well.
Any questions on 715? 716, circulation. Questions from council on circulation? Seeing none. 730. The giant covered book fund. Any questions from council on that?
What is it?
We asked this last year too.
It looks so burdensome.
It was set up every year and it's basically the interest you're expecting to get off this. It's a restricted fund. And then you give it back to the library so they can buy books.
Buy a book.
And you buy it? I'm not sure you could even buy one.
A paperback.
This is not the
Not a
library
new one.
rate.
Flat at $30, if you look at last year, the interest was $500.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so there's a balance there. That's like
Then you do
3
get
more
one book.
books. Yeah, you get a couple more books. Any additional questions on library things? Council Nevis.
Yes, if we could just backtrack to 714, I'm just curious. It's a commentary in the explanation section. Continue to monitor the facility, handling problems with vandalism, inappropriate behavior, and safety in a timely and professional manner. Can you just elaborate a little bit on what the issues are in regards to that comment?
Well, vandalism hasn't really been an issue for a while. Knock on wood, right? We've had behavior issues, you know, some of it is just, you have patrons of mental health issues because we're a public building. You also have teenagers, their behavior, especially like early release days, things like that. A lot of it, I think, is boredom. But those tend to be the bigger issues we have, is we have, you know, irate patrons, or we have, you know, more kids' behavior issues where we've had to ask them to leave, or they've, you know, there's been some destruction in the building because of how they behaved in the building. But overall vandalism of the building has been pretty light for a long time, which is great.
I was just thinking, perhaps questioning whether or not there was also vandalism of vehicles parked, you know, on the
No,
property.
not that I've heard of at all. It's really been, it's more behavior for us
Oh,
staff to deal with.
okay, thanks.
Pesky teenagers.
You feel for them.
Any other questions from council on library? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna go back now to code 644. Senior Disabled Center. 644 is center operation. Councilor Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor. Just 8217, this was the money that we've begun to set aside over the past 2 years for the senior nutrition program, giving cuts, federal cuts, et cetera. Can we just have a bit of an update on?
Yeah,
how that money's
I think Jamie is,
Oh,
yeah.
hi, Jamie. Hi. Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'd also like to acknowledge that we have Ed Nuevo from our Commission on Aging here as well. So nutrition funding, again, thank you to your generosity of some donations from the public. We're doing well, and we will be funded through the end of the fiscal year for both Meals on Wheels and in-person congregate. Right now, I don't remember if I mentioned this to you, CRT did find some temporary funding for those Meals on Wheels dinners. So we have been very lucky to not have been invoiced for the past few months, which saves us a significant amount, like $7,000 or $8,000 a month, which certainly helps us move the goalposts even farther out. But that funding, they told us, is limited, and we may get an invoice next month. We may, you know, so we're kind of keeping status quo on like how we budget and operate to make sure that, we don't run out. So, I don't want to go off agenda, but looking at the CIP request, for potentially, our long-term goal that was established when our nutrition federal funding was lost was to move into creating in-house meals. Regardless of whether or not that CIP is funded operationally, we're ready to do that. So we have different plans as to like how that'll work with how the kitchen proceeds, and the funding in that regard will help us do that either way and continue to help us to provide meals when CRT runs out of funding again.
Thank you, Jamie.
You're
I mean,
welcome.
I think we all just share in the awe at the miracles that you and Michigan and others have been able to work.
It's our wonderful staffs. Seriously, they're fantastic.
Councilor Draco.
Yeah, regarding actually the request for the
Kitchen.
the kitchen, the renovation of the kitchen, whatever, the expansion of the kitchen, which is, fantastic. Will that involve any other increased costs in terms of staffing or licensing or anything else?
Licensing, no, we currently have a food service license that'll allow us to prepare simple in-house meals. We have some good potential volunteers lined up to help with that. We also have staff that will help. At the most, we may need a very part-time person, but the way I'm planning right now, we don't anticipate that. And then I don't see any issues with any increased operational costs. That's all kind of built into the CIP request for the equipment and everything else we need to purchase.
And assuming that you could feed more people, you just maybe have to expand the hours of the lunch or something?
Possibly. We don't have the physical space to necessarily feed more people. What we're trying to do is we have a little bit more space. We could probably add another 20-ish people if we needed to, but it's more to make the program self-sustainable and also more environmentally friendly, rather than like all the disposable stuff we're using now. So that will allow us to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor. Just following up on this again to Jamie. So you said, and this is again about the CIP item, that even if you didn't receive the funds to do that renovation for the kitchen, that you have plans in place to allow staff to prepare some modicum of in-house meals?
Right. So there's two parts of this project. Again, it's important. We need to do this, but we also understand the challenges that this budget is facing. So I have like 3 plans right now. One is like fully funded CIP, one would be partially, and one would be not funded. And we kind of have priorities for each. If operationally, we can do a slower intro and bring in some things that we can prepare now. But there's the operation side, that work that we're doing behind the scenes to prepare volunteers, staff, menu planning, talking to a nutritionist, all that. That'll allow us to start that sooner. Or I'm sorry, not sooner, but like more gradual than if, we start with the kitchen construction immediately. So there's whatever, we work with whatever so we'll do that, continue to do that.
Thank you so much, Jamie.
Councilor Das.
Would the funding of that CIP item allow for savings within that program longer term?
Yes, that's the goal. And I don't have specific numbers because this is brand new for us, but right now, for the newer counselors, we receive meals from the community. This is in person only, Meals on Wheels is separate. We receive in-person congregate meals from CRT 2 days per week. That is still federally funded. And then we are self-pay or self-funded for the other 3 days. But because we don't have a kitchen that has enough, we have a commercial kitchen, but it's not sufficient for preparing like simple food in house. Right now, we need some upgrades for that. So we bring in, on those 3 days, we bring in food from local restaurants, like from Stu Leonard. Sometimes the school will help us. Obviously, that cost, even at a discount, if they're not donated, is higher than if we were to prepare our own meals in house. I cannot give you specific numbers because I have no idea like what the future budget's going to hold the CRT, but certainly it can assume that it is a more sustainable program long-term, and definitely our goal, even to eventually eliminate CRT altogether, because that way we won't be dependent on their funding.
Councilor Draco.
Yeah, I should have asked, all these should have been asked back in the CIP, but the amount will you need like an architectural study? I do anticipate that amount is for the actual hard renovation.
We will not need an architectural study. I've already consulted with our facilities department. Again, we have a commercial kitchen, just needs a few more things to make it usable. So some of the things that we will need, besides a dishwasher, a bigger refrigerator, some more storage, is there will probably be some electrical and plumbing upgrades, but we're comfortable that that could be done within that, yeah, funding.
Okay, thank you.
Council Gonzalez.
I just want to say thank you for what you do with what you got.
Thank
I
you.
really
You're welcome.
appreciate it. It's amazing.
Counselor. Any other questions, comments, or questions about code 644? All right, move on to 645, dial-a-ride. Questions or comments there? Oh, Council Port, sorry.
That's right. So 8103 is the part-time. It's correct, right, that there's currently one vacant driver
Correct.
position?
Yep.
And you continue to fund that. That is included in this request.
Correct.
right?
That count includes the vacant 19-hour per week. There's a 25-hour per week that's currently filled as an AFSCME position, kind of a special like arrangement position that's been around forever. And then it covers substitute drivers from the school bus garage on days where we need extra help or we have a driver out.
Thank you, Jane.
You're welcome.
Councilor Nevis.
Regarding that question regarding the part-time position, it's vacant right now, you said?
Correct.
So there's an intention of filling it at some point?
We have been trying to fill it for a couple of years. It's actually a very common issue that these part-time driver, because you need a CDL, positions are very hard to fill. So like all of the senior centers in the area are going from the same pool of candidates and we just haven't been able to fill it.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, if you can explain a little bit about the longevity.
Sure, that's a contractual expense from the AFSCME union that when employees are here for a certain period of time, they contractually receive small like lump sum payments for their longevity.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on dial-a-ride from council? All right, seeing none. So much for being here today. See you later. There's just two other sections we can run through on this side. There's the boards and commissions. Senior, any questions on aging and disabled commission or human rights commission? It's 671 and 673. Right, seeing none, we are gonna move on to parks, recreation and grounds.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning,
Bill.
Very good to see you, Bill. It's gonna start on code 800, that's all their personnel summary.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the key thing here is this reallocating, so creating another groundkeeper one, so we're creating another groundkeeper one position, but doing so by sort of so that it's budget neutral. There's four areas of savings there. One is currently we have authorized for two groundskeeper fours. And so we'd like to not backfill a groundkeeper four. So, we have sort of more workers and less foremen. And so there'll be savings there. There'll be eliminating 4 seasonal positions, paying for the benefits of that groundskeeper one from the cemeteries fund, because this person will be working in the cemeteries. What else? I guess that's it. Those are the ways that you achieve that savings. So that's the big sort of personnel ask here.
And that makes it completely budget.
Makes it completely budget neutral, yeah. And the hope is that by doing that, you'd have more of a technical staff, that the folks that could just do more. Some of the seasonal folks do, just litter pickup, and the staff has agreed to still do that kind of stuff, but you'd have just a more technically qualified staff to do. It's the real ground stuff.
Thank you. All right, so we'll start with code 810, Parks and Recreation Administration. Questions or comments from council? Seeing none. On the code 831, it's grounds maintenance. Any questions from council here? Deputy Mayor Rada.
Yes, under 8204 conferences, meetings and trainings, I see that there's an increase from 3,070 to 8,070. And can we have a little more information about that, please?
Sure, if I may. Jonathan, do you want me to answer that?
Yeah, please, Bill, chime in.
Sure. Yeah, so with our full-time staff and with OSHA requirements and all this new equipment requirements, we're finding out that we're training people on a regular basis for bucket trucks going up, 75 feet in the air for the tree removals, all the new payloaders and things like that. The stuff that we get, they need training, and when you have turnover the way we did in the last year, all the new groundskeepers ones, well, everybody gets trained, but groundskeepers ones are really the important ones because they're brand new to all the equipment we have.
Okay, thank you. And 8210 under equipment rental, just an explanation.
I think that's porta potties.
Potties,
So the
yeah.
cost of porta potties, yeah. has
Bonavita
gone up.
Luxury Labs.
Yeah.
I am the king of porta potties.
I'm gonna have to try out one of them then.
Yeah, we tried, whoever asked the question, I didn't catch it, but.
I'm sorry, it's
Deputy Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Rada.
Okay, thank you. We tried a couple of years ago, if you remember, under another town manager to start to minimize porta potties at the sports fields, at the schools, at the parks, and that failed miserably. People that, grandparents and fathers and mothers, and it's mostly parents, not kids, that expect to watch their kids participate in sports over 2 hours, expect a toilet to go to and use. So we found that we had to put everything back in place. We tried to cut it, but it's not a recommended thing anymore.
Thank you.
The parent who sits there and uses those, I appreciate it. Councilor Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Bill, for being here. On Deputy Mayor Rada's point, how many more porta potties is represented? Yeah, I hate to keep on that.
It's actually going to be,
We'll get off of
it's
this.
going to be the same, I think, that we're using this year. However, the cost went up, the cleaning, and we get a weekly cleaning and then you get a monthly rental. So in that, I think off the top of my head, it might be like 4 or 5% it went up.
That makes sense.
Thank you. And then also on Deputy Mayor Rada's point about the forklift training. So was that training because of the high turnover this year? That training was not budgeted last year because all of your staff had that training qualification already? And now that's why it's new this year, or what?
No, there's more requirements now for chainsaw safety, bucket truck safety, digging with the payloader in the cemeteries, going down over 6 feet. It seems like the requirements in the lawsuits and everything else and union requests, it's important to train everybody, and we're making a conscious effort. Over the years, we haven't done as good a job as we'd like, and I think it's important for our park guys, and it's good for morale, and it's good for everyone to feel that they feel safe in their equipment. And we're working alongside a guy that's trained driving a big piece of equipment, and they're on the ground with shovels and rakes. It's important for everybody to feel that they know what they're doing.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Pedrego.
Just continuing on the training thing, are these trainings, do you have to send people away for them? Do they get certificates, licenses, or is it staff training staff internally?
No, it's what we found is we do some computer training, right? So they do some OSHA training online. That's pretty simple and easy. However, what we have been doing is, for instance, this month, we hired a guy, I believe from Massachusetts. He's certified to teach 2 different bucket trucks. We have a 30-foot and a 70-foot bucket truck. And then we offer it to Public Works, or to the Highway Division, and to facilities. And we offer, and they pay for their portion of the cost, the total cost to bring this guy in for 1 day or so. Also, for the pools, we have a CPO license, which is certified pool operators. And we have about 3 to 5 park guys certified, and that's a 2-day course with a pretty rigorous test. And then we also have herbicides and fertilizers and chemical testing for everyone that sprays along fence lines and in the parks and in the cemeteries, they all have to be state certified. So we have to bring in training for that and a test. So there's a variety of testing, a variety of training. We do, I think what you're saying is ongoing staff, training staff, that would only be to polish up on things. But I think we pretty much could say that we bring in professional training.
Oh, great. That's what I was wondering, whether it was just, sitting next to the guy, driving the truck with you, or do you really have to go out and get certified consultants to come in for the staff? And you answered the question. Thank you.
Okay.
Deputy Mayor Rada.
Okay, Bill, just one more question. Under technical equipment, 8402, I see that has stayed flat from last year, but can you just explain what that entails?
Technical equipment. I don't off the top of my head. Is there any notes or something that I put on the side?
About $60,000 a year we budget for. I would guess this would be things like, lasers for putting down, field stuff and.
The technical supplies, yeah, also, I think it also includes the spraying of equipment. So we have some very sophisticated equipment, plus the painting machine and the laser grater, like Jonathan said, and also the auto mower that we have up at Anna Reynolds now in the courthouse. So I think it's like supplies, however, the more computerized or technical aspect of it.
Thank you.
But you're also seeing within the budget too, and we highlighted this, that the cost of fertilizer seed is going up. That's a worldwide trend. And I suspect it's going to even get worse. I guess I read that 30% of all of the fertilizer components travel through the Strait of Hormuz. So that's going to be
this is
an ugly head.
Yeah, and
lots of things.
I also read that 100% of potash, which is a component of fertilizer, comes from China. So, and it's gone up. Jonathan's correct. It's gone up 30% in cost, and they're anticipating another 30% next year. So it's incredible. And obviously, to make grass green, we need fertilizers and herbicides to do that.
Spray paint just doesn't do it.
Like the Lorex.
Any other questions on code 831? All right, 832 cemeteries.
Just one question.
Councilor Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor. The 8402 in capital outlay, the technical equipment, what is that for?
I think that's the fertilizer and chemicals and the spraying that we do almost on a daily basis at the cemetery.
I think that's, I'm sure you're probably right, but the agricultural supplies says that is for the fertilizer costs. Is that duplicated in technical equipment?
No, it would not be a duplication. I might have made a mistake.
What code are you in right now?
832 cemeteries, right?
In cemeteries?
And
Bill, Clay, are you on? Clay?
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yep, that's more to equipment specific to the cemetery. So every couple of years we replace a mower. Mostly equipment that's dedicated to cemetery use or gets dual use.
Okay.
That's the 60-inch skags and stuff like that.
Correct.
Clay? Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay. So those things, yeah, those are go up. Those are in the neighborhood of 18 to almost $27,000. So they're expensive. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor Draco.
Just back to the agricultural supplies. I'm assuming this is done, but I just want to make, because that's a line item in several activities.
Right.
Is there like one person who does the centralized buying for that, and then each department gets their share? I mean, each, like cemeteries doesn't go out and buy their own, and parks doesn't go out and buy their own, and highway doesn't.
Clay does that for everybody.
Including like parks and
Yes.
and highway and
Not highway.
Yeah, highway wouldn't need.
they don't need any.
Yeah, anything like that.
So the
yeah.
Parks and Grounds is the only,
Right.
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions on code 832? So thank you to Clay for showing us around a couple weeks ago. It was a great tour. You guys do an amazing job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Code 833, historical properties. Council Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor. So a couple questions on this. I know we spoke when Joe was here about the CIP item for historic property improvements, and this is different. In at least my understanding has always been this is for the physical grounds of the properties. So I guess can someone just speak to what this small sum has been used for, maybe last year, and what plans exist for it, or how helpful or useful?
Well, it was, for example, this past year with the regrading of the walkway at Kelaghetti.
Yeah.
I think that came from here. Is that right, Clay?
That sounds right, yeah. I don't think it yet,
We
yes,
also-
go ahead.
We also have done signage with ProSign to when that's in need for the cemeteries at the 3 locations. So that helps there too. If you can kind of imagine, Joe kind of does the buildings and we do the facilities. So we do the grounds, the snow, the leaves, the ice, and the parking lots and stuff like that.
Okay. Thank you. And those walkway improvements, that was at the Kelaghetti house. Correct.
Yes.
And was that job completely finished for the improvements?
Yeah, it was maybe late fall, we got it done.
And then
And at the Kelsey House, we have another PO out there to fix some of the walkways there, but they just got caught with a bad winter, so they'll be in there in the spring, a contractor to fix that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Any other questions on code 833? 834, tree maintenance. Flat. Questions from folks there?
I ask this every year. We're in the process that the town tree inventory is. I know that's a long-standing project. And I don't know if anybody.
Bill or Clay, any thoughts
Sure.
on the
Yeah.
updated tree inventory?
Yeah, we have about $30 million worth of street trees. Street trees are basically from the street in 10 feet towards the property of the front lawns. During COVID, we inventoried them all in our computer system, our maintenance computer system. And not much else has been done with it except that we get a complaint or two every week or maybe every day on trimming, stumping, or cutting down trees. So it's a pretty big job for Clay and Tom LaPierre and our tree crew to try to stay on top of it, because especially when you get this wicked wind and you can't really predict when the tree branches are going to come except when the wind comes or the storms. And that's kind of what they deal with we put out fires instead of, it's not a great planning process because there's so many trees needed work.
Yeah. Part of the reason I asked is, I just saw recently, this is somewhat off topic, but in the town of Weathersfield, I think they launched this community program where, residents go around and they identify areas that could use trees on town property, new growings, new plantings, whatever. And they send them in and, the town, kind of one for one, after reviewing those locations, can go and plant trees there. And, I know obviously things break and things change and so on. So the inventory might not be such that you can just go plant a bunch of trees, but might be interesting to consider.
Yeah, just to kind of bring to your attention, Clay and I, we love trees. I mean, I know that we get a bad rap for cutting them down, but we do replant trees all over the place. And if we can go one for one, we will. Most of the engineer, all the plans that we've done, when we take down trees, we replace them with new ones and different kinds. We use a different street tree, which has deep tap roots that don't spread out and ruin sidewalks or streets. So we're conscious of that. And we also have I think in the budget, $5,000 or $10,000 for replacements. Now, what we do is try to stay on town property. So that's an important aspect of things. Oftentimes when you take a giant tree down, it looks like the house got barren, but the fact of the matter is it was a street tree. So we try to replace it with a new young tree.
Thank you, Bill. Just can't let Weathersfield do anything better than us.
Yeah. Absolutely not. No.
Continue.
Councilor Rodrigo.
Yeah, I probably asked this last year, I don't remember. The town does the actual physical work, so what's the consultant special contractor?
Yeah, we do, I don't know exactly, but it's probably half and half. If it's a tree that we can tackle with our staff, we do it at first shot. However, there's so many trees that are in very difficult spots or positions where we might hit a house or we might hit wires. And it's to the town's advantage to hire a contractor that has bigger crew, different equipment than ours. They have straight up elevated lifts that are only 12 feet by 12 feet that can get into side yards and landscaped areas that we couldn't get to. So that's kind of where we use when there's a safety for our staff, we want to keep our guys safe and we don't want any workman's comp claims. And we rely on contractors to do the things that we think are above our skill level.
That absolutely makes sense. And then just one more thing, I assume, or maybe do you communicate with Eversource when they're doing their tree trimming?
Yes, all the time. They're pretty good at calling us and they'll say, we're going to be in this neighborhood. Can we meet, Tom Lapierre or Clay out there? And we're going to identify what they're going to be trimming. And then we kind of work together. And obviously, sometimes Clay and I will come up with a plan that'll say, you know what, if they're going to do this, we can do this with our guys. And together, it looks like the whole neighborhood got a nice facelift.
Super, thank you.
Any other questions on 834 or Parks and Rec in general? We got Bill here. What is your last budget with us, Bill? I'm sad to say.
Yeah, that's.
You're smiling.
9 days left, but who's counting, really?
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So that concludes all of our department reviews at this point. We take a 5-minute recess before we move on to the rest of it. Does that sound okay, folks? All right, we'll take a quick 5-minute break and right back.
Nada.
You let you walk by me before I fling my chair into you.
She says she's going to, but she can't leave her house.
Come on. You are back now. Alright, very good. We're back from recess. We're going to continue with our budget review. Next on the agenda is debt service, which is code 1000. So that's the first question, the easy one. Great that it went down. Can we explain, explanation on why the debt service went down?
Debt service went down due to the fact that we paid off one of our bonds, it was refinanced in 2015. And we got last spring when we went out to bond, we got premium back, which is offsetting some of the interest costs on a new bond.
Thank you. Any other questions from council on code 1000 for debt service?
Oh, I have a question.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, Janet, just, I don't know if you can even answer this, but I'll put it out there. The timing for future bonding is determined based on educational construction reimbursements received from the state of Connecticut. Knowing all about funding from the state of Connecticut, using your crystal ball, when will we have that information?
We actually just finished the audit back on this building, which is started for construction grant, we've been in it almost 6 years. So, that one's been finalized, and we know how much, well, for the remainder of that. And we'll pay the next, it looks like they're staying on top, that one was a little bit more. So in, yeah, people, I think I had it projected, you guys would go up next time for, the remainder of this, for in the rental, that's a whole 10 million, which is not a lot for in rentals. For the remainder of this, in 2027, 28. Still won't know, the other school project. The security one is.
Wallace. Yeah.
We won't know that completed. Also, it'll just be the beginning portion.
Okay, which, you know, being on the building, John Wall's building committee, and Lauren also knows this, that we are on time. Things are moving along really well, so. Fingers crossed.
Thank you, Deputy.
Thanks.
Councilor Ziniakis.
So I know historically we've maintained like a AA rating with our bonds people, and I know that's a good thing, but do you have any kind of like insight on how we compare to similar towns in the area as far as how much we got the bond for and like how much we put on our plate all at once?
Actually, you guys should be going out this summer to do another debt review, which will compare to other towns. We historically always have much less than in other towns. So we said that the last time we did this was not this past August, August before. We have a $50 billion ceiling on our debt that we can go to. Most towns are well over that. Because all our ratios are really great for debt, but very compared to other towns. But there should, when we did this 2 years ago, we said every 2 years we should go out and do another review of it. So that's 2 years.
Cool, thank you.
Council. Any other questions from council on debt service? All right, seeing none, we'll move back to the front of the book to revenues. Listen, I didn't do the agenda. It was me.
He just wants us to keep flipping.
Yeah. Just to make sure you're awake.
Fall asleep,
Yep.
yeah.
All right, so revenues, it'll start. Yeah. General fund revenues. There you go. 5,000 taxes. Any questions on general fund revenues? Questions on?
Yeah,
Councilor Draco.
I know you already explained about how the cannabis tax went down. Don't we get something for nips too? Or is that?
This goes into a special because of the miscellaneous grant.
Okay.
That can only be used for certain purposes. This past year, we used it to pay for reduced speaker.
So I'm sorry, that's a special fund at the.
That's a miscellaneous grant.
But it says nothing in, yeah, 6030?
This is just general
Oh, okay.
for next, yeah, that goes directly into the miscellaneous grant.
Just turn the page now. We're looking at 5,200 assessments, 5,200 licenses and permits, rentals and investment income.
Say that.
This next page, it's assessments, licenses and permits, rentals, investment income and funds. Oh, Councilor Draco, sorry, guys, I was reading.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I just have,
Oh,
thank
no,
you.
no, yeah, you go ahead.
No, I don't.
It never
I
was
think it's
lowered.
still down.
I think I
Still
did it by
up.
mistake.
Oh,
Cabinet.
Councilor
I'm
Pillay.
losing it, folks. We gotta lock in. We got, the Indian Hill Country Club, I know that the lease right now is being renegotiated with the committee. That won't impact this number in any meaningful way, or the budget assumption that you might put here in any meaningful way.
I don't believe it will.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Nieves.
Yes, my question is on 5404, other town property, if you can provide a clarification on what specifically that is.
That would be for presumably for like park rentals, and things like that.
For car rentals?
Four is the, one of the other town property. That is actually the tower rental. We get money and that's moving.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. So the cell tower rental, like at the.
Okay.
Oh.
No, not what we pay for the Callahans, what we receive from, it's at this, at the high school,
At the
right?
Cell phone tower at the high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this page? And the next page, which is charges for services, refunds and reimbursements, sale of town property. Any questions there? Seeing none. Next page is state aid and federal aid. Just a clarification on the cannabis tax, that's in this area because it goes to the state and they give it back to us, right? It doesn't come to the
No,
town.
It doesn't go to the state, it does come directly to the town, but it's the tax the state imposes that gets paid to us.
Okay.
Actually, each establishment has to report their sales to the state, pay the state a good portion, and then the state sends us the report so we can actually invoice.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Deputy Mayor Rada.
Yeah, Janet, can you explain 6011 municipal revenue sharing?
That is just something whenever they have excess funds, we may get. It's not guaranteed, but you can see we got $5,106 this year. They're not saying we're gonna get it next year.
Where does that come from? How,
The state,
Legislature.
and anything,
everything, when they get.
no
to-
specific
when
line
they get
item?
down, when they get down to the end, they'll just say, hey, we've got this left and we wanna share. it."
Okay.
We don't, if you notice, we haven't gotten.
Right. Thanks.
Councilor Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor. In 6030, the miscellaneous state grants, excuse me. So when we receive grants, that is where they typically appear? Okay, that's my question.
Now, this is just ones that might come up that they don't budget for. So it's not ones like that we applied for. We applied for them, that's under the miscellaneous grant fund, the next ones goes under their specific use. If there's a grant that comes up during the year that is just to state, hey guys, we want to put this in place, that's where the funds would come from. We have.
Thank you, Jim.
That would be specific to general funds.
Sure, not for a specific capital, et cetera.
I don't have a question, but just, want to make a comment on the education cost sharing grant went down. We need it to go up. If anyone from the state's listening, you need to give us more money for that. And the zero for special education excess costs, we need more for that. Clearly, that's a huge driver in our budget. So if you're listening, Governor, please.
Completely consistent.
Councilor Draco.
No, I did do some research again on the educational cost sharing grant, and Town Wealth does enter into it. It's over a 3-year, they average over a 3-year period, but it's property values plus adjusted, income. So a lot of towns are very, very concerned because of the,
In your paper, one of the things you didn't rank high on this for debt. That we didn't.
yes.
So, well, property value might have gone up, your average income has always stayed a little bit. below that.
Right.
It's something in your paper.
Yeah, it doesn't help when we're going to be paying property
No.
taxes.
I didn't realize they do a 3-year rolling average, so that may help
Might
just a
help just
tad
this
for the
year.
next, this year, maybe a tad next year, but not much.
Councilor Nevis.
Yes, my question is on line item 6114, the FEMA storm assistance. Just curious as to whether or not it's there reduce storm damages, to the town, or are the federal funds that we get from the federal government
There are ones that go through federal government and they're for specific storms.
So it's like if the president declares a state of emergency, the governor declares a state of emergency, would be eligible for FEMA. So it's responsive to.
We have to report in all our extra overtime, equipment usage, everything. You have to submit pictures, show the damage around your town.
But we would never budget something for a future year for it because you can't predict when the storms will come.
Okay, thanks.
Councilor Tiniakis.
Similar to the same line items, like are we expecting any sort of federal aid, or are you guys anticipating that to happen?
No, I mean, that's just it, that. Yeah, no, yeah, simple answer is no.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Councilor Draco.
Yeah, I'm just actually curious, under 6028, fire response state road reimbursement. We have so many state roads passing through our town. I mean, what is that and why aren't we getting anything?
We used to be getting it, when they first came out with it, all of a sudden they're not reimbursed. That's why I left them. You see, this year, we budgeted 10,000. Got nothing. I don't know where that stands in the state right now, but they've stopped. I don't know if the funds are dry on that. They're not being
Like, who controls that? The I don't know, deep or what? Or
Legislature.
maybe we can ask
It's part of the state.
Turco, Senator Turco, or Representative Turco about that. Okay, thank you.
Definitely ask, and the fire department, because they were the ones who submit all the stuff to them. But then share the fire department, if she doesn't staff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this page? Move on to next page, which is miscellaneous and transfer from other funds. Any questions there? No, we're in the last page of revenue, we're in miscellaneous and transfers, yeah. No questions there. We will move on then to special funds. So back to the back of the book. Sorry, guys. Now let's start with code 5001, cemetery fund. Any questions on 5001? Counselor DeHaas.
I guess the first one I would ask about is why the department request for cemetery fund was 377,163, and then the proposed was 394,742.
This is the increase for the staffing change that they made, that we discussed.
So the benefits for that position would be paid out of,
So the full amount of the operational cost, we have the cemetery fund in our operational is reimbursed by the cemetery fund.
Thank you.
Any other questions on cemetery fund? All right, move on to road aid maintenance. That's code 5002. Questions there? All right. Go ahead, Council Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor. So this item exists here, pavement crack sealing. There's a CIP crack sealing item. This-
last one was going to be. Yeah. This is just part of it.
Let's see. But they are independent funds for that purpose. Okay, thank you.
Any others on 5002? All right. 5003, LoCIP, Local Capital Improvement Program. Questions there?
These two, just so you know, when you look at the CIP book and you see the $1.7 million that they're showing for road, these two funds offset that 1.7 million. This is where you see the 555,000 and the 345 reduction. It's the number that actually has to be, yeah.
All right, any additional questions on 5003? None. Move on to code 5004, recreation. This is the enterprise fund. Council Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor. Janet, would it be possible for us to see, obviously, well, let me go first and say, obviously, Parks and the superintendent and his staff do a miraculous job getting sponsorships. Is there a way to see how each one of those sponsorship items, and I know many of them are very small, so that's why I ask if this is even possible, but is there a way to see how each of those sponsorship donations, how they offset these different items within this account? Thank you.
Let me look into that, sure.
Any other questions on this page? Move on to 5005, human services needs and donations. There. All right, 5006, senior and disabled center donations. Any questions there? All right. 5007, insurance reserve fund. Questions on 5007. Move on to 5008, public schools capital improvement program. Any questions there? 5008. All right. Move on to 5009, health benefits fund.
Just so you know, when you get to insurance and miscellaneous, well, employee benefits are under there. The amount you see here is town operations, receipts from them. That's the amount that we budget employee benefits to come with the health benefit to cover our self-insured.
Any other questions on 5009? 5010, land acquisition funds. Council Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry to have asked before. I even had it circled here. I had that, so apologies.
Yeah,
Um,
but it was actually higher because this didn't include the amount that got moved over.
In the Rio,
For this
yeah,
one.
that's right.
Budget, okay.
Okay,
That wasn't, that was.
thank you. Now 6030, what was that item? Way back when I assume you received something from.
Markup open space grant?
Yeah.
that was before I got it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions on 5010? No? Move on to five.
Councilor Pedrego.
Oh, sorry, Councilor Pedrego,
It's
sorry
not
about
just,
that.
it's not specific to this, but I just want to clarify that. The closing balances for all these things, such as the education, CIP fund, public school capital, whatever. That's after the items requested for the next budget year. That's how much they will have remaining in their fund. Just for example, like, public school capital improvement, the bottom line closing balance.
Estimate for 12 months.
Okay, and then they will still, all these funds will still have whatever balance is reflected there for future or for our to read. Okay, thank you.
Moving on to 5011, recreation CIP fund. Questions on this one? All right. Move on to 5012, technology funds. Any questions there? All right, seeing none. Includes special revenue funds. Yep, Councilor Floyd, go right ahead.
This is just kind of a broad question, but, and I'm sure one to have offline too, but obviously there are some departments who have the ability through these special revenue funds to solicit donations, et cetera. Can you just speak to, I guess, what decision-making process goes into deciding when and how those accounts get set up generally?
I mean, for donations, it's senior center, Park and Rec, and human services. Human services is on an as-needed basis, people make donations. It's out there. I don't think per se, except for around holidays, I'm careful about explicit stuff with it.
That she can't receive.
It should just be, people want to come here, but very good staff providing for it. That, if it was some money comes through PayPal, some of it's directed to her. We expect guidelines for her, more for Jamie. Jamie is one of the people who comes out to the facility, I think, and they did do an outreach program that you guys about. Still, I'm not positive, how that works.
Okay.
Would you like us to follow up with?
I'm just curious generally, I mean, if there are other, I mean, I get slightly uncomfortable with the idea that operating expenses are covered through sometimes donations. Although I recognize reality happens and sometimes that has to happen. Especially when a department can go and, robustly get that kind of support. So I wonder if there are other departments pondered or other agencies pondered in town that might, for whom it might make a lot of sense to set up an ancillary account like that to do the same kind of thing, to receive donations, et cetera.
I think those three are pretty unique in the services that they get.
I mean, that's a good question though. Let's say if somebody wanted to like buy a new, truck for the highway department, just spitballing here. How would they do? They just make a contribution to the human services fund and.
If they wanted to buy the wood and human services, they wanted to do something specific, say for the highway.
Yeah.
They would probably approach Rob or somebody from the highway department and definitely bring it to your attention. We had, Patty Foley passed away. She donated in her will to several different within the town. It came through probate and it works that way. So yeah, we had somebody donate park benches one time. They wanted to pay for it. And usually is they'll approach whoever the department head or whoever's in charge of it, and they'll bring it to the town manager's attention. And we'll work through finance to get that funding.
That's helpful. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, I'll conclude special revenue funds.
Can I
and
just
other
make
funds.
one
Yep,
comment
go
on
ahead.
that, though? I mean, just a general, and I feel like I said this like a year ago, but it's worth saying. One of the things that we don't have at the town level is like a Friends of Newington.
Yeah.
The same way the libraries have a Friends of the Library. Essentially a 501(c)(3) that is set up to accept donations. And the advantage of that is that right now, if I want to give $100 to the Human Services Fund, I'm doing it entirely out of the generosity of my own heart. Whereas if you did it through a Friends, a special 501(c)(3), then there would be a tax deduction as well. So, if that's something that could be explored, but that 501(c)(3) would have to be completely separate of council.
Yeah.
So that creates its own challenges that you would have this other kind of funding group that you would have no control over, but it is something to think about. It might result in a more people being more generous with contributions.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we're going back to the middle of the book, public health. It's code 511. Counselor Chiniakis.
Nope. I don't know what that was.
Deputy Mayor Rada.
Yeah, I know that we've been waiting for an actual amount of increase from CCHD. Have we heard anything more?
Yeah,
yet?
so they're gonna be, Charlie's gonna come to our next council meeting on well, not the next one, but the one on April 14th. So as part of that, hopefully he can discuss his actual budget, because I don't think we have received anything formal from
I haven't been reading it.
Yeah. Yeah, so to be TBD. And hopefully lower than that 10%. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions on code 511? Now we'll look forward to hearing from Charlie. 512, health services, environmental health. Question there. Deputy Mayor. Oh, no, you're good.
Actually. No, I just was looking for kind of a definition or more details on what this $500 would fund or entail.
Yeah, what would this?
I don't know what activity it's currently having, to be honest. This was something that Foley kind of put forward to us, and I'm not sure what the status is of that group.
It was through the Environmental Quality Commission. There's a program for the state of Connecticut where a community, can apply. You don't really get money, but you get kind of a badge of honor if you're designated as a sustainable community. But you have to do like vision statements, and there's a whole mess of requirements for it. And Patty was very enthused about making Newington one of these of 11 sustainable communities, whatever, but quite frankly, it never really went beyond her enthusiasm.
Yeah, I think they started doing a little something the first year we did
Yes.
it, and there hasn't really been any activation.
And the commission now, I don't think has met in 2 years.
And again, the designation, is nice, but it doesn't really necessarily get us
Yeah.
anything in terms of funding or grants. It's just a cool thing to have.
Great. Any other comments on health services? All right, we will move back down the book to insurance miscellaneous. It's code 910 is where we start, municipal insurance. Any questions? Question code 910.
I guess we discussed moving the ambulances over into The town insurance plan and being reimbursed, does that include any of this or no?
So that does not include that. This is, it could, so what you see here for like the general liability umbrella for officials, you see that there's increases in all those line items. That's based on the worst case scenario. Right now, we're in year 2 or 3-year budget stabilization plan with PERMA. So they give us a projection of the maximum that will increase your premium is 5% for year 2. So we're estimating that we're going to see that 5% increase. We may not. The amount to put those 2 ambulances onto the town policy, to title them to the town and actually have the town cover them. It's about $1,500 per vehicle that we would see, but like we've already increased the line item based on in addition. I also included in that number an endorsement amount, so I include additional $5,000 for adding equipment onto the schedule within the next fiscal year. So it's kind of eaten up by these increases that you see here. It's just not specific.
But it could without any additional cost if that comes to pass.
Yes.
But the idea that I think, Kelly, would be that,
They'd reimburse.
they'd
us the
reimburse
expense
us,
of
so
it
it would
anyway.
be.
But I would assume we'd end up upfronting that and
Yeah,
then sending,
correct.
passing the expense through.
Exactly.
Any other questions on 9:10? 9:30 for your Hartford Transit District. Questions there?
I had a question about how this is calculated.
Where that?
How is
Yeah,
the,
I believe it's based on, population. I don't know beyond that. Yeah.
I can check the letter that they sent, but I think
Okay.
it's population.
yeah, it says voluntary contribution based on, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the calculation is, how we come up with this number.
It's cost per capita, that's a cost.
Okay.
Any other questions on 9:30? None. 9:40 employee benefits. Questions here? Deputy Mayor Ryan.
Just an explanation on 946, what are other benefits?
Like unemployment insurance or something?
Included here is flu shots. Are any admin fees to Charlie Snyder.
What does that mean? Admin fees to charge Snyder? What is that?
Charlie Snyder, we have the agreement with them for, there's not a lot of people, but some people are on plans.
Oh, FSA or something? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's.
Oh, yeah, the HSA account. Ah, that's probably it. Yeah.
So stuff like that. Unemployment is in here also. Emeritus life insurance. Over and above what we, the other line. That's the majority of it.
What's that? Deputy Mayor?
Long-term disability policy also.
What is it?
Long-term disability policy is also.
And these are essentially contractual. Thank you.
Councilor Nieves.
Actually, I had the same exact question that Deputy Mayor Rada had.
All right, very good. Any other questions, Councilor Floyd?
Thank you, Mayor. I actually have a question I should have asked in municipal insurance in 910 if I could.
Backing us up.
Sorry. Briefly. 912 general liability and auto insurance. Can you just speak to Jane? Are there any vehicles that we, or anybody, I'm sorry, forced to have it. Are there any vehicles that are inactive that we continue to pay auto insurance on or general liability insurance on? Inactive meaning they've sat in a lot, maybe they're just, not repairs haven't happened yet, et cetera.
No, and the only thing I can think of that would be like not used frequently is we do have like some antique vehicles or, we have a couple things like the 1920s and
Okay.
some parades and whatnot. I'm so sorry. My family just called me like 6 times.
That's quite all right.
I'm gonna go out and.
No, absolutely. This is not important. That's okay. This is fine. Please. Thank you.
But no, there's nothing that we would consider like an obsolete vehicle that we continue to insure.
Thank you. Hope everything's okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on so far? Okay, move on to 950. Donations and contributions. Code 950956, $10,000. Is there a balance there currently?
Well, it's an operating expense, so it wouldn't roll over. It's not
Oh,
a CIP,
okay.
yeah. It's.
Okay, so have they used it every year?
They have to request it and they have not requested it. So it's kind of like I just don't send it out. Somebody has to come make a request for it.
Jonathan, could you close that door?
Yeah.
Sorry for privacy.
So
Thank you.
they have not made any kind of a formal request.
Okay, so we're just assuming
All they
that,
have
or?
to do is, yeah, we're just assuming, but if they're listening, you have to send me an email. And then we will disperse. That's what goes in the one update today and the, because it has to be for the contact, you say, okay, who's in charge now, who gets the email, this backup or actually distributing.
Gotcha.
Okay, so you said that they should send you an email now?
Yeah, if they want it this year, they should be sending me an email.
Great, thank you.
So I'm sorry, I just want to be clear. So you haven't received any notification as to how much of the current balance they've used?
No, we just give the donation.
Yeah. And I understand. So there's no, understood.
Yeah.
Understood.
This is just purely a donation.
Yeah. Do we know at all what they typically use that 10,000 for?
Usually it's for equipment or upkeep.
Equipment,
Gas
upkeep.
they've mentioned.
Deputy Mayor?
Yes, under 200, contractual services, what might that entail?
That's the total.
That's the summary.
That's the.
Oh, that's the,
That's the total of all those three
Yeah.
things.
all right.
Counselor Nevis?
Yes, I'm getting back to the 0956, your comment. You just give a donation, you indicate it. Does that, so if they incur no cost, does that money, you continue to, okay, so it does it roll over or?
It doesn't roll over, it's operating, so at the end of the year, like you see the time before, if they haven't requested the amount, it just get paid out. It's not an expense on our side.
Okay.
So once you press the amount, I will give you the donation amount that's the budget.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions on 950? All right. Over to 961, manager's contingency. Any questions here?
Can you just explain the difference between this and then the general, the other contingency fund that we have?
This one is town manager, so if you can use it for what comes up on a day-to-day operation, whereas the other contingency, you have to go to council.
Oh.
Counselor Floyd?
Thank you, Mayor. Can you just, I guess, speak to I mean, obviously it's a contingency fund, so it ranges, but how much of this was used last year?
Well, I think, last year, it was 31,000. I have not drawn anything on it for the current year. So, but you know, it's like those, what I view it would be for like those, for example, like the pool architecture, if we need an extra 10,000 for the pool architectural study, like kind of get those kind of special projects over the finish line is kind of what I would view it as.
Thank you.
Any other questions on 961? And I guess we'll go to 962. We're talking about it. Any questions there?
But I mean, I think Gail, to answer Gail's question more, like, so if, you know, the management contingency would be like to get those, you know, special soft cost studies over the finish line. This special contingency would include, for example, like when we were negotiating the police contract. So like, well, once that contract is signed, funds from here would need to be appropriated to that police. So it's more for those kind of, I don't know how to,
We have
like,
a base amount that we always keep in there.
yeah,
And then the additional one is if we're in any contract negotiation.
yeah.
The base one is, you know, when we had that storm a couple of years ago, that operations, we weren't gonna get the money back from FEMA for a little while. We would come to you guys and say, hey, we have an overage in this line, we wanna move it. At the end of the year, the last couple of years, we've been fortunate that we haven't had to cut into that base as much. And so at the end of the year, I've come to you and say, let's do an extra amount to the pension funds.
Okay.
That's one of the places we use it. Nothing comes out. That's what we use it for, to get our pensions better funded.
So it's sort of like a rainy day fund, kind
Yeah.
of, but you have anticipated
Yeah.
contractual.
I mean, like this year, it could come into play when I do the numbers and look at, okay, these snowstorms absolutely kick the crap out. Where are they gonna be for that?
Councilor Plord, thank you, Mayor. To that point, Janet, what portion of this 425, I guess, and it may not be accurate to ask a question like this, but what portion represents that base contingency? It's not accurate.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, I thought so. So, but the 85 represents a potential police union item.
It does include that.
In addition to, et cetera, other contingency as needed. Okay, thank you.
And the town manager and the finance manager, do they get together and say which fund it should come out of? Is it better coming out of his fund or this fund, or does it really matter?
I think it's more as operational when I think more they'll come to Jonathan and say, hey, I don't have this in my budget.
Okay.
Whereas this is more, yeah, I had it in my budget, but we went over.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's when we would go.
All right, we will move on to MDC, which is in the debt service section. Code 1051, not too far away. is it? Any questions on this? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to employee leave liability, which is the end of the book. Nice that we did this one at the end, and not at the front.
You know, I would just say Janet and I talked about this a month or so ago, and you know, the number of employees that are still subject to the old contract that allows them to, the huge payout of leave is, we're down to 2 or something, or 1. Yeah. So this is one of these things where in a year or 2 years, we can think about dissolving the fund, I think.
I don't know how many Board of Ed has, I think we have.
Okay.
Board of Ed and ours. And what my suggestion, and I'll leave it back with this numbers on this fund, is there's smaller departments that during the year, like my department's gonna be ahead. When you leave and have vacation payout, they can't absorb it, because you're allowed up to 2 years worth of vacation. So that's a huge hit that comes when somebody leaves. If the smaller departments, it can't be absorbed, and that sometimes we have to get contingency. we're gonna, you might wanna think about refurbishing and doing new ordinance to change this to be vacation payouts. And kind of just put a little amount in there every year to try to absorb that when it hits.
Thank you. Any questions, code 3000? Any additional questions? All right, seeing none. That concludes our department budget reviews. Close the books. And we are moving on to public participation on agenda items. If you would like to speak in public participation, please step at the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Or if you're on Zoom, please use the raise function in Zoom. We'll alternate between in the room and over Zoom.
You come bearing gifts?
Rose Lyons, 46 Alton Drive. I'm taking my glasses off because Dana just showed me a picture of a blue jay at a feeder and I thought it was her dog at the back door, so I better figure out what I'm looking at here. First of all, Janet left. I wanted to thank Janet for all that she's done over the years in answering my questions and things like that, and there'll probably be a few more before she leaves. Janet, thank you for everything over the years. I wish you well in the new position. Oh, yeah, I'm sure you do. Anyway, I've got my Myra Cohen steno book here with all kinds of notes and everything, but I'm going to address first things first. And on behalf of Project 88729, which is the Elton Drive terminus, there is still $8,000 in there after, let's see, it was 2016 it was approved. I think it was finished in 2018. And there's things that have to be done, maybe not so much as far as the terminus, but the pathway itself. John Solomon approved the project. That CIP, Tanya Lane, asked to hold until MDC finished with what they needed to do in the back of the 6 acres of land that the state owns and the acres that the town owns. And they just finished that in 2025. So I'm glad we didn't say we would wait until that was done. But that being said, I did read a letter from a resident last year about her concerns about the pathway. At that time, I think there were 6 children on the street. A year later, we now are up to 12 under the age of probably 2 and probably 20 more after that. And is used, and I've told you this before. She told me after the elections that a nice young Democrat male stopped by and asked what we were concerned about on the street. And she mentioned the path, and he said that he was aware of it and something would be in the works. So before you go knocking on that door again, I hope that I want to talk to the new Parks and Rec person and Highway and see if we can work on something. But as you're reviewing what's there, please go by that one and say there's something there that needs to be done. It's very hard to hear. I was in the back of the room, which that too is a problem, but I was at home and I called Dana and asked her if she would bring me down here. I've asked year after year, speak into the mics. You talk to each other this way, which is great, but when somebody goes to listen on Zoom, they're not going to hear it. And especially anybody sitting here. Janet, you're not going to be here, but whoever's here, find her a table, or she's got a little thing there that she's, find somebody a table that, okay. Quickly, I'll try to get through with the 4 minutes here. The consultant for $150,000 for the engineering, I see it was dropped to 50,000. And then there was a mention about the Lewis Street grant and being denied. And why we were denied that grant, according to the small cities person that I spoke to at the state, was because we hadn't finished the other grants. We haven't used up the other grants. So if there's more money to be had, try to find it for them. South Branch of the Park River, once again, I'm going to push for the flood control. If that loses its certification, it could be that the people along that area, businesses and houses, are going to have to pay flood insurance. I've seen 2 turf fields go through, and while I've been watching, and now Councilor Gonzalez asked about the third. It's another 10 years, but still, they plan that way so that they get the money, and I don't think they would have had it if it wasn't for the ARPA monies, but things like that have to be addressed. Leases on the properties we own. I've been asking for years, are there written leases that we can look at and see what we're responsible for, what we're not responsible for? Last year, I suggested that the balances that are in these CIP accounts be at the line where you're looking at them, not down in a whole big list. I tried to go, okay, this is this, they're asking for that, we've got this. Maybe it is, I don't know if it's hard to do that or simple enough to do it, but I think, and the signage for the center of town, is there a plan to that? I think Paul may have been on the call. I was coming here or doing something else, but back when ECD was in doing things, I requested money. They gave $10,000 and they took it away. I ended up making a cardboard sign to get out of that 1.8 million reno of the municipal parking lot. I'm glad to see the money's there, but if we don't know what's going to be there, I'm just confused. I'll get in touch with Paul and the other questions. They're just observations. Mostly I was here for the Elton Drive terminus and to see if we can get something done down there. But that again will be with Highway and Parks and Rec. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Oh,
Rose.
wait a minute. It's not just the only reason I told it. For years, I've been threatening this. And here it is. When you leave this room tonight, today, think about this. I want.
Oh, that's funny.
I need.
You're the best, Rose.
Thank you,
So,
Rose.
Hang it up on the wall until the budget's signed, okay? Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, you're right behind me.
Thank you, Rose.
I'm only talking because she made me come, so I can blame her for what I have to say.
You want to take your time?
Yeah. Probably a coffee when we leave here.
Is this what we have to look forward to with your podcast?
Yeah. All right, Dana Havens, 113 Stoddard Ave. The only thing I'm adding to this or questioning is the library got up and talked about their overtime and how they have to do it certain ways. So I work at a union, well, not at the union, but a job that we have contracts. And we actually did a overtime agreement amendment to our contract that I just quickly looked up, and I guess the library is under the whole town. So this would really benefit us, I think, a lot. In our overtime agreement, we have overtime sign up so that it's divvied out, not by seniority, but by time. And not even time worked. I mean, just like, okay, you're a 35-hour employee, you're a 22-hour employee, you've gotten basically, I mean, all right, by the amount of overtime you worked previously, so that it's broken up evenly for every employee, so that like someone like me who has 35 years there, I don't get to eat it all up and make $1 million while my new employee friend, gets my little scrappy leftovers. So I think that is something really we should look at for all departments. It benefits the employee and our bottom line. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm stuck.
At least the chair likes me.
Anybody else in the room over Zoom like to speak?
Hi, everyone. Diane Stam, 104 Steeplechase Drive, Newington, Connecticut. I have recently been watching the budget meetings recently, maybe over the last 5 or 7 years. I don't get anywhere near as involved as Rose Lyons. We all know that I have my particular cause that I like, but I just wanted to take a moment. I spoke to a few people on break, but I don't know if the rest of the town realizes that all of the people sitting here from town council are volunteers. And I further don't know that they realize how many nights you've already put in just on the budget. So again, from me, from the rest of the folks, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I had my eyes opened. I think it's worthwhile to have other people's eyes opened. And Rose did make a comment that I'm constantly frustrated with, and that is it's great to have this where it's publicized. There's no documentation. I realize there's some limitations for technology, but we need to find a way that when it's on NCTV and when it's on Newington YouTube, whether it's Zoom or anything else, that we can have a split screen with an agenda. We could have the line items or the capital budget that you're talking about, so you can follow along. It's very hard to follow along. And when people come up to speak, it's very nice, especially as we're having turnover in employees, to have them introduce themselves. I had to do it, right? So I don't necessarily recognize the new person for a new department head. And then I'm scrambling to say, and what was their name? So it would just be nice for the community at large to have something like that in place, so we know what's going on. And the key point to not only putting that stuff up there is to find a way, and I know we're challenged with technology, but find a way that once it's up on those screens and you're watching them, that it's readable. You can't even see the date and the time on something. So if I'm watching something that was already recorded, I have to look and say, somebody got a Christmas tie on? What session is this? What are they talking about? So I think those things could be looked into. I don't know what it costs to do that or anything else, but as we're moving towards technology to keep our community involved, we need to find a way that they can actually feel like they're participating or able to track what's going on. Because I, for one, budgets are not my most favorite thing. I like to get to the bottom line. Do I have enough for what I need? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Bye. So with that, thank you very much for your time. Bye.
Thank you. Does anybody else like to speak in public participation in the room or over Zoom? Seeing none, we will move on to remarks by counselors. Any comments from council? Councilor Plord.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just say really briefly, a thank you again to Janet, to Jonathan, to Lauren, to all the staff that continue to pull this budget together, but particularly these Saturdays, they're always very helpful for us. And I got a lot of very useful information today, so I appreciate it. To Ms. Lyons' point, I do remember exactly that conversation with that resident. Though I didn't make promises like that, I don't usually ever make promises like that. I am interested to know what the status of that ongoing project is, because I know that's years in the making. And to your point, Diane, as well, any improvements we can make to improve the accessibility of these meetings, I think is one of the things that we take very seriously and we want to look into. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other remarks from council? Oh, Councilor Haas.
I would like to thank everybody around for the time that they spent here with us on a Saturday morning. And I think that us as counselors now have our final big push through this budget over the next couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken. And we definitely have a lot of work out in front of us. And to Ms. Lyons, I try to talk into a microphone as best I can, but I'm wedged in between two of them. And to try to throw myself across the table.
The new line item in the budget.
For another mic?
Take it out of your contingency. Got two more mics.
But it is also my understanding I can't relocate the microphone or it goofs up the cameras. So I try, and I've asked a few people, if you can't hear me, please wave me down and I'll attempt to project as best I can. But thank you all. I appreciate it.
Councilor Nieves.
Yes, I just want to thank everyone that came out, took their time to be here on a Saturday morning. And express your concerns and just show a real interest in what's going on in our town because there's a lot going on in terms of concerns with the budget and a number of other things. But I also wanted to address the point of the inability to hear very well at the back end of the room. I have actually heard that commentary made previously. And so maybe we can have some kind of conversations about how to better
I'll
address
definitely have a conversation.
the audio system.
Scott.
Any other remarks from council? All right. I'll just reiterate. Oh, Councilor Pacheco.
I just, I do want to thank Janet and Jonathan. I mean, since I've been here, I've never been in a situation where reval so dramatically impacted what you have to do. I mean, if property values go up 55%, income does not match that. You had needs that have been for years. You had just the normal contractual stuff. It was very difficult, I'm sure, for you both to come forward to us, try to do the pencil sharpening, like you said, whatever. then to give it to us, and then for us to hear from residents how impactful it's going to be to them and to us sitting here. It's just, wrong, wrong time, wrong place to be doing the reval, but we're stuck with it. And thank you for going through the first cuts. And I hope that we can minimize the damage. I'm not making any promises to anybody that we're gonna be able to do to bring it back to where it was, certainly not to stay even, but we'll do our best. But it's just, it was just really incredible how much the reval has impacted our budget this year and our ability to do what our wants, let alone to meet our needs. So, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Yeah, I'll reiterate that. I think, as we sort of come to this end of this budget, review process, I mean, we're reminded of the challenge ahead of us, and it's significant. And I think, we're going to be working very, very hard over the next coming weeks to find every way we can to minimize any kind of impacts to folks. I mean, it's incredibly tough. It's resources are always scarce, and when they grow without your control, they become scarcer. So I think, we're gonna be working really, really hard over the next few weeks to ensure that we can get the best possible budget for this community. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Floyd, seconded by Counselor Gonzalez. Any discussion of adjournment? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? All right, motion carries unanimous, motion carries 8-0 with Counselor Cabello absent. We are adjourned 12:05 PM.